subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
He is not afraid. Because of this game, Tampa's mission was not to complete the game. Instead of maintaining physical strength at the rhythm of pitching, it is better to show your strength to the fullest. Don't forget that Senpai is now competing with Sawamura for the ace number. If Senpai, who is at a disadvantage, does not have the determination to break the boat, how can you defeat that little demon? Before the game, Miyuki had said this to Tampa. This is the real reason why Tampa completely listened to Miyuki with the ball. 2 outs, no one on base. The third batter, center Mimakin, 94, chapter 94, 1 second. 2 outs, no one on base. The third batter was Mima of the Hakuryu High School. Mima, who stepped onto the strike zone, stood directly on the sideline close to the plate. This action was too unexpected. Miyuki glanced at Mima, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. In Hakuryu's team, the strongest batter is not their fourth batter, Takara, but this one standing in the strike zone now, the second-year Mima. Not every team puts the strongest batter in the fourth. In the case of Hakuryu, their lineup arrangement is also to match the specialty of their team. The main purpose of placing Mima in the third batter place is to ensure that he is sent back to home plate in the first inning. In fact, this is the case with any lineup arrangement, no matter how it is changed. It is all to increase the probability of scoring for one's own side. Such a batter is difficult to solve just by the game calling as before. His stance was glued to the sideline of the strike zone, seemingly to block Tampa Senpai's inside corner pitch. But he did not rule out the possibility that he used such a front to confuse us. In this case, the first ball might as well try it out. Miyuki very decisively stopped the glove at the inner corner, facing the batter's stance close to the sideline of the inner corner. Miyuki chose the inner corner to catch the ball very aggressively, not at all concerned about possible traps and dead balls. It is inevitable to explain these two sentences here. The batter is clinging to the touchline in the inner corner, ready to strike. On the surface, he doesn't seem to have a sweet ball at inside corners if the pitcher threw straight directly to the inside corner. This is not the case in reality. It is indeed not easy for the batter to swing to the inside corner pitch, but this also blocks the pitcher's inside corner pitch to a certain extent. Because the batter is too close to the inside corner line, if the inside corner pitch comes over, it is likely to hit the batter, giving him a dead ball. Faced with this possibility, pitchers will inevitably be tied when they throw to inside corners. In this way, you may not be able to throw any sharp balls at all, and instead throw some sweet balls. Of course, such a position itself requires a lot of courage. As long as the pitcher is not naturally idiot, he is definitely not willing to throw the ball. But it also does not rule out the possibility that the pitcher has a poor ball handling error or that the pitcher has a bad personality. You must know that a hard baseball of 134 to 140 kilometers per hour hits a person is quite painful, not to mention the injury. Without great determination and courage, the batter would not dare to stand like this. Choosing such a stance is a bit like an imposing duel in a boxing ring. When one side puts on a desperate stance, if the other side cannot show the same determination, it will only be forced to retreat step by step until they collapses. This is also the reason why Miyuki directly plays the inside corner pitch. Since the other party has made it clear, they naturally have no reason to back down. On the mound, Tampa's eyes became firm. I am the ace of Sedo, representing the team, standing on this pitching mound. Right now, how can I retreat? With a bite of his teeth, Tampa pitched the ball. Whoosh! The small white ball flew straight over, as if it were the target batter. On the strike zone, Mima didn't move. Snap! The baseball got into Miyuki's open glove. Ball! Facing the provocation of Mima, Miyuki and Tampa's battery, instead of flinching, threw a ball to the inside corner. This ball almost touched the front of Mima's shirt and flew into Miyuki's gloves. Nice ball! Tampa's toughness made Miyuki very pleased. However, seeing Mima in the strike zone, He felt that he could not be happy no matter what. Instead, he got goosebumps. Facing the ball just now, Mima did not take a step back, not even raising his eyelids. Such batter are like a mountain standing in front of them. The most terrifying thing is that after seeing Tampa's pitch just now, Mima still has no intention of changing his position. This way, Miyuki's next ball distribution is a really bad choice. With the current stance of the Mima, the outside corners have become like the center of the strike zone, which cannot be used at all. Only in the inner corner and near the center can decide the outcome. After thinking about it, Miyuki gave Tampa a signal for a low inside corner pitch. Whoosh, Tampa threw the ball, and this time he was a little shaky with the ball, and the ball went wide. Bad. Miyuki secretly groaned badly. Now the ball was wrong. No, it was terrible. Especially if it deviates to the outer corner. For Mima, who is standing on the sideline of the inner corner, it is equal to a pitch to the middle and a bit low. Ping. Of course, Mima would not let go of such a sweet ball. He directly swung the bat and smashed the ball out like an arch snap. The baseball crossed Sidhu's defense and flew to left field. Sawamura, who is the left fielder, judged where the ball would land in advance and waited before the baseball hit the first spot in the outfield. Pick up the ball, look up. Sawamura saw a very incredible scene. Mima has already crossed first base and ran to second base. Crazy? Sawamura certainly wouldn't be polite, passing the ball to second base. Hiya-ha-ha. Kuramochi went to the second base to fill up and receive the ball from Sawamura, and he wanted to touch Mima. Thank Dash, he wanted to say thank you for the hard work. But before he could say anything, he saw that Mima had already pounced and his hand touched the base bag. Safe. The ball lands in the infield and bounces into the outfield. Sawamura received the ball after rebounding. This time is only 5 or 6 seconds in total. Plus the return is only about 7 seconds. Mima actually ran to second base. This Sukur is too fast. Most of Sidhu's players looked at Mima, who was on second base, in disbelief. Sawamura touched his nose in embarrassment. He was also responsible for the ball just now. If it is Sakai or Shiratsu, they might be able to stop the ball without waiting for the baseball to land a second time. In that case, I might be able to touch and kill Mima. However, the boy is too fast. Mima patted the soil on his body and stood up with a calm expression on his face. 2 outs, runner at second base. The catcher, Miyuki, looked at Mima with caution in his mind. This speed, even stealing third base, is not impossible. The rest area of the Hakuryu Academy. Coach Sasaki was holding the stopwatch in his hand with a smile on his lips. 6 seconds, 83. Rush directly to second base from the strike zone. This speed is not bad. I just don't know if this speed is enough to shake Sidhu's pitcher. Mima's parents are excellent track and field athletes, and Mima has inherited their genes very well. In terms of running, it is estimated that he has searched all over the nation, and it is difficult to find someone who can match him. Ignore the runners and focus on the batters. Although Mima's speed made people very concerning, Miyuki quickly judged what was the most important thing right now. 2 outs now. As long as you get the batter, it doesn't matter if Mima steals the base to the home plate 95, chapter 95, hit and run. Focus on the batter. It is already 2 outs now. As long as Hakuryu's fourth batter can be stopped, everything is going to be okay. In the face of Mima's amazing performance on base, Miyuki chose to ignore it. He only considers the most important issues in this situation. That's to get the last out. Although fighting with the fourth batter of Hakuryu is not a good choice, there is no other good way now. Whether it is Miyuki or Tampa, they're not the kind of people who are willing to walk the batter easily. Rather than putting them in a more favorable situation, walking the batter will hurt their confidence. To be noticed, the pitchers of Sidhu High School seem to have this virtue. Except for Kawakami, whoever walks batters will inevitably be affected. Given this situation, no matter whether the catcher is Chris or Miyuki, they generally would not choose to walk the batter. Now, in this situation, they can only think about how to solve the fourth batter of Hakuryu High School. Bring it on. Miyuki's pitch calling was quite aggressive. He didn't flinch in the face of fourth batter Takara. Not looking at me. Mima was on second base. so Miyuki and Tampa should be very cautious about the pitch distribution. But watching them exchange signs, they didn't seem to have any worries. Know that at the speed of Mima, he only needs to hit one hit, and it is enough for Mima to run back from second base. In this case, Sita High School still has such a tough mindset. That means they're determined to strike out Takura or get Mima out. I've been really underestimated. On the first pitch, Tampa threw a high drop curve. In the face of this ball, Takehara did not swing. He chose to let it go. Strike. It was precisely after watching this ball that Takehara understood the countermeasures of Miyuki and Tampa. They made up their minds. They had to deal with him. With the bat in his hand, raised high, Takehara's feeling on the strike zone changed. It is no longer the easygoing as before. It has become aggressive. Tampa and Miyuki couldn't ignore such a sense of presence. The batter is serious. Not only the batter, but at the second base, Mima also began to act. As if taking a walk, he quietly left the bag at second base and moved to third base. Want to steal bases? This form is too obvious. So obvious that Miyuki can't even pretend to be deaf and dumb. Do you want to remind Tampa to hold him back? This question swirled in Miyuki's mind and was eventually rejected by him. Now that he has 2 outs, as long as he gets 1 out, it will be useless even if he steals home plate. And whether it is second base or third base, as long as Takehara can get a hit, Mima can almost run back. So it doesn't matter if he's on second base or third base. Or focus on dealing with the batter. Seeing Miyuki's sign on the pitcher's mound, Tampa nodded slightly and pitched the ball. Whoosh! A ball to the inside corner. In the face of this ball, Takehara stood up and did not swing. At the same time as Tampa pitched, Mima moved and went straight for third base. Fast, flying like a bullet. In fact, the moment before Tampa was ready to pitch, Mima was already accelerating. Steal. At times like this, stealing bases is extremely dangerous. At the outfielder's position, Sawamura's back straightened. Mima is fast, and now with the rush, it is difficult for even Miyuki to stop him. Isn't he afraid of Tampa's containment? The catcher, Miyuki, saw Mima's actions, but he didn't do anything. At this time, Mima seems to have run away, and there is a possibility of being pinned out. But it's not the timing of his choice can be said to be just right. At that time, although Tampa hadn't stepped on his feet, yet if Miyuki opened his mouth, it would take time for Tampa to react. And he, who is ready to pitch, may not be able to react. After all, for Miyuki to respond and shout also took time. Even if Miyuki shouted, Tampa reacted, and Mima could jump back. After all, he was only accelerating slowly, not starting to run at full speed. Judging this, Miyuki shuddered at the timing of Hakuryu's stealing. But in the same way, Miyuki also knew that it was definitely too late to remind Tampa. Instead, Tampa will be more distracted to pay attention to the runners. Not worth it. It might as well be that after Tampa pitched the ball, he tried to see if he could block Mima, or let Mima go to third base. Anyway, they're fighting to the death with 4. The second base and third base are not much different. Out of this consideration, although Miyuki saw Mima's stealing base, he did not remind Tampa, and Tampa still pitched at his own pace. This ball, Takehara did not swing. Snap! After Miyuki caught the ball, he passed the ball to third base like a laser beam. Snap! Masuko catches the ball and prepares to touch Mima. But Mima was 1 step ahead and went a base faster than him. Safe! 2 outs, Mima was at third base. At this time, Tampa realized that Mima had just stolen the base. So fast, his ball speed is not slow, coupled with Miyuki's restraint. The pass is at third base, which is also closer to second base. Even so, it still failed to stop Mima from stealing bases. This guy is too fast. The presence of Mima at the base is too strong. Even if others want to ignore it, it is difficult. Concentrate on the batter. Seeing Tampa frequently looking at Mima, Miyuki had a bad premonition in his heart. He directly reminded Tampa that now is not the time to pay attention to runners. The most important thing is to deal with batters. As long as the batter is out, Mima's stealing base can be ignored. Tampa also understands this truth. But how can he not pay attention to Mima? Judging from the performance just now, Mima can steal the home plate directly from the third base. How can you stop Mima? and he is not close to the third base bag. He is obviously ready to steal bases. Whoosh. Safe. In the face of Mima, Tampa directly threw a restraining ball. It's just that Mima's actions are not slow, and he is psychologically prepared for Tampa's containment. Seeing Tampa in action, he rushed back. Ignore the runners and focus on the batters. Miyuki himself didn't know how many times he reminded Tampa, but it seemed that Tampa didn't listen much. In the strike zone, Takehara sneered. The fish is hooked. Facing Tampa's pitch, Takehara swung the bat directly. Ping! The white ball was hit and rolled towards the third baseman and shortstop. Masuko threw a little but didn't make it, and the baseball landed. At the same time as the ball was hit, Mima also ran to the home plate at full speed. At the same time, Takehara threw away his bat and ran to first base. Hit and run, double run. After 2 outs, any out can end the Hakuryu's attack in this inning. But in the face of such a situation, Hakuryu did not hesitate to steal both bases. To hit such a difficult place. While complaining, Kuramochi caught up with the ball and picked it up, past first base. At this time, it was too late to pass home base, and Miyuki called out first base directly. Snap! Kuramochi swiftly sent the ball to first base and smashed it into Tetsuya's glove. He is fast, and someone is faster than him. The fourth batter, Takehara, was an instant faster than the white ball and hit the base. In the first half of the first inning, Seto was 1 point behind. 96. Chapter 96. Miyano Kagami in the first half of the first inning. Seto High School was 1 run behind. Now the situation is 2 outs and runner on the first baseman. The audience in the stands was still immersed in the wonderful performance of the Hakuryu High School. Wow, so fast. Isn't it a bit reckless? It was 2 outs. Wouldn't it be good to let the fourth batter hit normally? The pitcher succeeds, or the batter's run fails, or if the runner fails to take the bases, and if they block either one of them, Hakuryu's opportunity is wasted. No way. This is the Hakuryu. Mima is so fast. I heard that there are already professional scouts eyeing him. Really? Isn't he in the 2nd grade now? With its excellent performance, Hakuryu High School has overturned the atmosphere of the scene to a certain extent. The original atmosphere of one-sided support for Seto disappeared, and many people became interested in Hakuryu High School. Compared with the straight-to-the-point pitching showdown in ordinary schools, this kind of speed contest on the base bag has another charm. Fifth batter, first baseman Kitoikin. No matter how the situation changes, the game must continue until 3 outs are made. Miyuki was also very pragmatic and didn't feel any resentment because of Tampa's incoordination. In the situation just now, even if you lose a point, you can't do anything. Calm down and get the last out. Tanpa nodet. In Seto, there's always been an iron rule. That is, mistakes in the game are reflected on after the game. During the game, no contemplating is allowed. No matter what happens before, when you play, you have to play the game with all your heart. Facing Kitawi, Miyuki and Tampa regrouped and used a fishing ball to make Kitawi hit a slow fly high. At second base, Kaminato Ryosuke opened his glove and caught the ball in his glove. Out. 3 outs, offensive and defensive exchange. The inning was only halfway through, and when Tampa came off the field, the rhythm of his breathing had sped up a lot. Coach Kataoka glanced at him, a little surprised. In this inning, Tampa had a tough pitching, but in total, he threw less than 20 goals. With less than 20 goals, Tampa, who had been training hard, lost his breathing rhythm. Did Hakuryu High School's offense put him under so much pressure? In the second half of the inning, Seto High School attacked. Before playing, Coach Kataoka deliberately called everyone together for a meeting. The opponent's ace has been known to everyone through the video. I think you are all impressed by his breaking ball. His best ball is the straight fastball, which is mixed with the ordinary straight. It's very deep, and it's not easy to distinguish. In this case, it's better to give it up at the beginning. Aim at his sinkers and normal straight balls to attack. The pitcher's ball speed is not very fast, only about 135 kilometers. You can wait until the ball is closer to your hand before judging your swing. Yes. First batter, shortstop, Kuramochi-kun. Hi-ha. Kuramochi gave a weird laugh and took the bat to the field. From the beginning, standing on the left of the strike zone, in the position of the catcher, Takehara glanced at Kuramochi, who was on the left playing seat, and a hint of vigilance flashed in his heart. Judging from the information collected before, Seto High School starter is incredible. He has a good eye for ball selection, he also has striking skills, and his speed is extremely fast. The most terrifying thing is that he also has a keen intuition similar to that of a beast. All in all, he's a player who gets a lot of headaches after hitting base. Considering the batters we'll have to deal with later, I don't want Kuramochi to hit base no matter what, especially the left box, which is so close to the first base. It also does not rule out the possibility of the opponent stealing the base on the first ball. It's long to say, but if you are thinking in your mind, it's just a matter of a moment. Takehara made up his mind and gave the pitcher a sign. Just pitch it like you want to strike out the batter, Miyano. On the mound, Miyano Kagami looked at the sign from his partner and smiled bitterly. You are really embarrassing me. Take-kun, you must know that Seto High School is a top giant, and a ball speed of 135 kilometers per hour is just commonplace for them. How can you let me, who is mediocre in pitching, strike them out? With a twitch of his nose, Miyano Kagami put on a look of aggrieved little daughter-in-law. Blurg, seeing the attitude of his partner, Takehara felt like he was going to vomit. Stop making a fuss, throw the ball. On the pitcher's mound, Miyano put away the pitiful expression pack, and in the blink of an eye, it seemed like a different person, and he pitched the ball. Whoosh! The small white ball came flying and passed over the plate. On the strike zone, Kuramochi's eyes never left the small white ball. Now watching the white ball flying over, he decisively swung his bat. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew off the field. Foul! 1 strike, 0 ball. Kuramochi's eyes sank. Just now his swing was too late. Is this what's called a straight fastball? Sure enough, it was an unpredictable mess, and it looked no different from an ordinary straight ball. But the ball is fast. It felt as if it was suddenly accelerating at hand. This is not the same as Sawamura's straight fastball. In fact, the breaking balls, because each pitcher's palm shape, strength, flexibility, and body structure are different, the changes in the throwing are also different. Even if the same pitch is thrown by different pitchers, the effect is completely different. For example, just like Sawamura's straight fastball, from the batter's point of view, that ball is not much different from a normal straight. It just feels that the speed of the ball thrown by Sawamura is only 10 kilometers faster than the actual speed of the ball. But Miyano's straight fastball is different. He is not like Sawamura. As soon as the straight fastball is pitched, the batter can clearly feel the difference in the speed of the ball. Miyano Shin's straight fastball feels no different from an ordinary straight ball, but the ball does go faster than a normal straight ball when it passes over the plate. This doesn't look like a really straight fastball, but it's even more difficult to deal with. Since you can't see the difference in ball speed, you can't aim well. If this is not the case, Coach Kataoka will not call on everyone to give up all the straight fastballs when they hit the first time. The first ball, sir, I've swung the bat. Although it was a foul, it may be difficult for pitchers to use straight fastballs anymore. After making up his mind, Kuramochi looked at the pitcher's mound without blinking. Whoosh! At this time, Miyano's second ball also came. Here it comes. On the strike zone, Kuramochi has long been ready to fight. Seeing the flying baseball, he swung the bat without hesitation. Ping! The white ball was hit high and flew out. Snap! When the baseball lands, the place where it lands is out of bounds. Foul! 97. Chapter 97. The ordinary ace, 2 consecutive throws. 2 strikes, 0 balls. Kuramochi is being chased. Kuramochi, whose face was relatively relaxed at first, suddenly stiffened. He didn't feel it first, but now Kuramochi suddenly has a strange feeling, as if he was bound by invisible threads. Slowly, he fell into their trap. This guy, looking up at Miyano Kagami on the pitcher's mound, Kuramochi couldn't imagine how a pitcher like him could have such means. The stadium is like a battlefield. Although it is a bit mysterious, the really powerful players naturally have a kind of momentum. You don't even need to actually fight. You can feel the strength of the opponent just by throwing a ball and swinging a bat. The specific level is definitely not good, but at first glance, you can still feel whether this person is good or not. Everyone in the Seto first string has such an aura. Great pitchers like Furuya and Sawamura can even throw a ball that can make people stunned. Although Tampa and Kawakami are weaker, as long as they play, they will naturally show this kind of momentum. The pitcher of the Hakuryu looks unremarkable and does not look like a powerful player at all. Judging from Kuramochi's experience, it shouldn't be difficult to hit his ball. But in fact, in the real fight, the pitching of this guy, named Mayano, is very strange. Very good pitch. To make Kuramochi hold such an evaluation, Mayano has more than one winning shot. He should be very strong. The weird thing is that even now, Kuramochi feels that Mayano looks harmless to humans and animals. Do you pretend to be weak to trap the strong? There is a cruel smile on the corner of Kuramochi's mouth. Since the other party is playing this trick, he is welcome. Facing the third pitch, Kuramochi kept his bat short and hit the ball out. Ping! The baseball lands in front of the third baseman. Kuramochi threw away his bat and rushed to first base. Kuramochi is fast, and Hoshino is not slow. As Kuramochi ran to first base, Hoshino rushed towards the baseball like a lightning bolt, picked it up, and passed it to first base. Snap! 2 steps away, Kuramochi failed to hit base. Out! This wonderful speed duel shocked both sides. Seedu's rest area. Sawamura frowned. Even with the speed of the cheetah, it's still not enough? It seems that the opponent's amazing speed is not only used for stealing bases and offense. It is also very sharp for defense. Miyuki shook his head and said, Hakuryu High School is different from the teams we played against before. It is the real top giant in the country. If we really aim at the throne of the national hegemon, it is the mountain we must climb over, Chris said flatly. Miyuki and Sawamura looked at each other and nodded in unison. Yes, there are many powerhouses in the country, but it is not to say that all the national giants are on the cusp of the limelight. Are the national giants strong right now? It still depends on whether you have good seedlings this year and whether you have trained well. National giants, well-trained, strong, and successful teams are called the top powerhouse in the country. After all, although there are not many schools with good money, in a country with a population of hundreds of millions, there are still hundreds of them. Even in such a national giant, there are the strong and the weak. There are only 20 or 30 schools that can really be called the top giants in the country. Being the top powerhouse in the country does not mean that you are rich enough. You also need to have excellent supervision, excellent supporting facilities, excellent coaches, and most importantly, excellent team members. Other than that, the difference between the various powerhouses is not particularly big. The most important thing is the last point, good players. This is the case with Hakuryu High School. There are several star players in this team. The speed of the Hakuryu players really startled the players of Seto High School. Similarly, Kuramochi's astonishing base stealing also shocked Hakuryu. Hakuryu's rest area. Coach Sasaki looked at the numbers on the stopwatch in his hand in disbelief. 3.78 seconds. This is the speed at first base after Kuramochi hits. Hakuryu have always dominated with their speed, and Kuramochi was 0.3 seconds faster than the average speed of Hakuryu. In Hakuryu's team, in terms of speed, the one who can definitely outperform Kuramochi is Mima. The best of the others are similar to Kuramochi, or even a little slower than him. I didn't expect that there would be runners of this level in the Seeded team. It's really surprising. 1 out, no one on base. It was Kaminado's turn to strike. With Kuramochi's lessons learned, although Mayano still appeared to be harmless, Kaminado Ryosuke showed a hideous face to him. Ping! Foul! Ping! Foul! Up to now, they have been entangled with 8 balls, 2 strikes, and 3 balls, and the count is full. On the pitcher's mound, Mayano's originally harmless little face gradually stiffened. Not to mention Seedu's batters that are coming next. Just look at the first 2 of them. They are too capable of bullying. One who is terrifyingly fast from an easy grounder that bounced in front of the third base, but he was 2 steps short of hitting base. This one doesn't give in at all. No matter what ball I throw, as long as the ball falls in the strike zone, he will smash it out of bounds. Bullies, all of them are bullies. Do not erupt in silence, die in silence. Mayano, who was forced into a blind spot, threw a ball in a huff. On the strike area, Ryosuke still smiled harmlessly and then swung his bat. Aiming the bat at the baseball, and pulling the ball out of bounds. The bat swung, and the baseball fell. Snap! Ryosuke Kaminado swung his bat in vain. The originally harmless smile froze on Kaminado's face. Just now, forkball. How troublesome. Before, in the data collected by Seco, there was never a record of Mayano's new forkball. If this ball is not a coincidence, then in this game, it is really not easy for the batters of Seco High School to destroy Mayano Kagami. Strike. Batter out. 2 outs, no one on base. The third batter, center Isashiki. Please take care of me. Right now, it was Isashiki's turn to strike. Come at me, you bastard. Unlike Kuramochi and Ryosuke Kaminado, Isashiki swung the bat immediately after he got up, sending the ball flying high. Snap! The outfielder, waiting under the baseball early, confiscates the ball in his glove. Out. In the second half of the first inning, Seco attacked. 3 ups and 3 downs. Even at this time, Mayano still looked harmless to humans and animals. Seco's high school players looked at him differently. 98. Chapter 98. Form Tetsuya to Sawamura. I admit, Haku, the ace, is quite capable. It's amazing to make Seco's batters go up and down 3 times. What's his name? Mayano Kagami. It's true that appearances can be deceiving. In the rest area of Seco, all the players didn't speak and put their cold eyes on the rest area in the opposite. The heavy pressure seems to be the same as the substance, and the target of the gaze feels uncomfortable all over. In the rest area of the Hakuryu, Mayano seemed to have a feeling and hid behind Mima. See. Scared like a baby, Takehara couldn't stand it any longer. You are Hakuryu's ace too. Act like one. But they are really scary. Mayano looked aggrieved. Then you hide behind the Kohai? You have lost all the respect of the senpai. Mima, who was used as a shield, didn't care. As long as senpai is on the pitcher's mound, it would be great to be able to exert his strength perfectly. Normally, it doesn't matter. Now it's our time to attack. In the first half of the second inning, Hakuryu High School attacked. This time apart from the 6th batter. The other batters were dealt by Tampa successively, including the pitcher, Mayano. Facing the fierce Tampa on the pitcher's mound, Mayano directly responded. 3 hurried swings, 3 missed swings, and strikeout. Nice pitching, Tampa. As expected of the ace, the players of the 2nd string and 3rd string are very excited to cheer on Tampa right now. On the other hand, the fans of the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guard chose to remain silent. When they came before, they often called on Kataoka to replace Sawamura. Later, it was Wakana who felt that this was not good and suggested to everyone not to sway the judgment of Seco's coach. Otherwise, Sawamura will likely be harmed. Guys, think about it, okay? If Seco's coach didn't have a wise mind, wouldn't he have punished Sawamura by now? So, even if Tampa was upset, they wouldn't say anything. Even if they can't support Sawamura, they still have to express their attitude in silence. In the second half of the second inning, Seco attacked. After changing the equipment, the Hakuryu players, who were ready to go on the field, all gathered beside Sasaki, waiting for the orders of their coach. Mayano, how did you feel about Seco's top 3? Sasaki held the watch in one hand and asked Mayano. It's terrifying. The speed of the first batter was like a plane, and he rushed to the base with a swoosh. I didn't even react to the second batter. It was even more terrifying. His batting seemed to be able to guess my heart, even the breaking ball. The ball will be hit out of bounds, Mayano squeaked and said. All the players who spoke were in a cold sweat. Be more serious. If you can't bear it, you don't need to bear it anymore. Takehara directly gave him a loud slap, interrupting his chattering nonsense. It hurts. Mayano held the place where Takehara had beaten him with a grudge on his face. Tell me. Sasaki didn't seem to see it, seeing the coach and all his teammates staring at him intently. Mayano lost his interest in playing tricks. It's tough. Kuramochi Yoichi, Kaminado Ryosuke, Isashiki Jun. These 3 batters each have their own style, and everyone is distinct and unique, and they are all very difficult to deal with. But it's just difficult to deal with, not impossible to deal with. Clap. Sasaki closed a stopwatch. Okay, if Seco's first 3 batters are difficult to deal with, then their 4th and 5th batters are terrifying. If you have a chance, you might as well use it. If the chance is not good, Sasaki didn't say anything more. I know, Mayano nodded with a smile. Even if the chances are not good. Of course, the most important thing is to win. Fourth, first baseman Yuki-kun. After he took the strike zone, the audience suddenly quieted down. It seems that the audience is very much looking forward to the showdown between the two. On the strike area, Tetsuya had a cold face and stood there. The bat in his hand is held up, and it looks imposing, but there is no place where he is putting too much force alone. His whole stance is very relaxed. Takehara's brows furrowed, and he looked at Yuki Tetsuya unhappy. It's really uncomfortable. Tetsuya's stance gives people a very strange feeling. It seems like he can hit the ball no matter where it goes. Damn, just the attacking stance makes people feel terrifying. Against such a batter, if the ball is sweet, it will be slaughtered. You have to pay attention. On the pitcher's mound, Mayano's smile became unnatural when he received the catcher's sign. I'm already under a lot of pressure. Okay, stop putting pressure on me. No matter who the opponent is, right now, is there a place where I can back down? Whoosh! A small white ball flew out. Yuki Tetsuya, who was originally motionless, suddenly moved. Ping! Like a flash of light. Many people didn't even see him swing, and the small white ball was smashed. The ball flew so fast that it was too fast for people to react. Snap! The baseball lands. The shortstop, Shindo, made a subconscious interception action, but he was obviously still far away from the ball. The baseball flies through the shortstop's area. Seto High's first hit came out, and the creator was the fourth batter. With this hit, Tetsuya rushed to second base. No one out, a runner at second base. With a swing, the audience fell into silence for an instant. The players of the Hakuryu High School looked at Yuki Tetsuya in surprise, as if they couldn't believe what he did. Sasaki's hand holding the watch was trembling slightly. This batter is different, really different. He is very strong. If there is no good opportunity, try to avoid confrontation with him in the future. Sasaki secretly made a decision. In the rest area of Seto, Isashiki saw Mayano's terrifying pitching with his own eyes, and he was very emotional when he saw Tetsu smash Mayano's pitch. Even if we are rolling around and playing rascals now, we won't be able to catch up with this guy. He's really strong. Even his teammates can clearly feel that Tetsuya is obviously different. Waiting to hit by the box. Sawamura's hand suddenly clenched tightly, and his heart was hot. Sure enough, he is worthy of being called senpai. His batting has already reached a very high level. Even if it is dragged to the pro leagues, he can be used as a strong batter. The senpai has set up the stage, and as a kohai, no matter what, I have to complete the play well. Fifth, left fielder Sawamura. When the commentator just pronounced the name, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly changed. Sawamura, Sawamura, Demon King, Demon King. Smash it away. Let the little cubs of the Hakuryu experience the horror of the great demon. Hakuryu's players became stupefied. Who can tell them what happened? 99, Chapter 99. Oscar-level acting skills no out. Runner at second base. It's Sawamura's turn to attack. As soon as Sawamura stood in the strike zone, the stadium, which was originally quite noisy, suddenly fell into a state of boiling like a pot was opened. Dong, dong, dong. The Brotherhood of Red Heart will always support you. The drums are cheering here. On the other hand, the Demon King's Guard, who used themselves as a board, formed lines and then formed words, had already won against the Brotherhood of Red Heart, even if they did nothing. Looking at Miyamoto, whose nose seemed to be going to heaven, Obayashi and Kobayashi's noses were almost crooked. What's so amazing? Isn't it just a big screen? We are the most die-hard supporters of Sawamura-kun. Other viewers were not used to this scene at first. Now it's a habit, so it's no surprise. That is a lot of cheers, Sawamura. It would be really a shame if he is so highly anticipated that he can't display his strength. No way. They're not calling him the Demon King for nothing. I hope he doesn't get caught in the pressure like Ichiro. No, I trust him. Yes, he is the Demon King, Sawamura Eijun. The dugout of Hakuryu High School. The players looked at each other in dismay. They had probably heard rumors about Sawamura's fans before, but really, they can't help but be surprised. Is this guy really a high school student? Not that baseball star? In the center field, Mima's eyes never left Sawamura. It's the same as always. As one of the famous upcoming talents, Mima is of course no stranger to the Demon King who is pressing on their heads. He has watched a lot of Sawamura and Akaji's game videos in private. He knew about the existence of the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guard. But even if you know it, the experience on the spot is still different. High school is not middle school. You have to be careful. Oh, great Demon King. Mima's fighting spirit seemed to explode from his body. But at this time, Sawamura's eyes were on the pitcher mound. No out, runner at second base. What will you do? Mayano-san, who pretends to be a pig to eat a tiger. The rest area of the Hakuryu. Sasaki held the stopwatch and stood at the front of the team. No out, runner at second base. The first base is still empty, and it is not necessary to be brave if walking is not impossible. But now the game has just started. If it is like this, the momentum will also become a problem. And even if it is a walk, the aggressive four balls and the cowardly four balls are different. Don't run away, aggressively attack. With a click, the stopwatch was closed by Sasaki, who gave instructions to his battery on the field. The Hakuryu High School, which had carefully studied the SIDA data before, did not dare to underestimate Sawamura at all. So far, Sawamura has made his first appearances at the Kanto tournament and has dazzled the audience time and time again. The number of hits in the field is terrifying, and the hit rate is even more terrifying, reaching 68.5%. The most frightening thing is that when there are people on the base, Sawamura rarely misses. And he also can hit long. He has hit a home run before. Even if Sawamura is only a freshman in the first year, his performance in the strike zone is astounding and scary. Realistically, when there were people on the base, Hakuryu really didn't want to fight with Sawamura Eijun. But if they don't fight, what will they do? There are no outs now, and there is a runner at second base. Even if Sawamura was walked, it would be no out, runner at first and second base. After that, Masuko Toru and Miyuki Kinzuya. These two are also extremely difficult to deal with, especially Miyuki. Once there is someone on the base, his performance is not inferior to Yuki and Sawamura. To do that, except to give Sidu a hit, has no meaning. Instead, it is better to actively attack with the idea of walking Sawamura. Here we have to explain what it means to actively attack with the plan of walking the batter. A pitcher usually decides whether he's going to throw a strike or a ball before he throws. Leaving aside when you're throwing a ball. If you're going to throw a strike, you must bring the ball to the zone to say hello to the batter. To avoid accidentally throwing a ball, the more unreliable a pitcher is, the closer the pitch is to the center, and the sweeter it is when it's time to get strike. In this way, the batter himself is more comfortable to play, and some batters are good at guessing the ball. He can also guess whether you are going to throw a strike based on the count you have. Some fascinating guys can directly guess the specific ball distribution. Back to the topic, what is an aggressive attack? In fact, it is very simple to understand. It is to give up the concept of strikes and balls and throw all the balls in the corners, where the batter is most uncomfortable to swing at. As a result, if the pitcher's control is not particularly good, it is naturally impossible to determine whether he can throw a strike. But at least he won't throw some sweet balls out. This is called aggressive offensive pitching. The probability of throwing four balls is very high, and the probability of solving the batter is also not small. Ball, strike, two consecutive balls that strayed from the outside corner, and then another strike that was tucked into the inside corner. This 1 mile like from inside to outside corners makes the entire strike zone extremely wide. The count is 2 strikes and 1 ball. On the strike zone, Sawamura's face was not good looking. Eijun, who was extremely experienced in competitions, saw through the Hakuryu's plan at a glance. To be honest, although this plan is a bit lame, it really works very well. It's easy to use. He's a little bit cornered. Seeing the troubled Sawamura, Takehara felt relieved. No matter how talented you are, you will be helpless in the face of our random punches. Next, send the ball to the outside corner. Ping! Sawamura swung the bat, and the ball from the outside corner was thrown out of bounds by him. 2 strikes, 2 balls, Sawamura was chased. Takehara, the catcher, glanced at Sawamura proudly. It's messed up. Not even strikes and balls can be distinguished. On the strike zone, Sawamura's face was also ugly. However, he was still very stubborn. He didn't take a step back, but instead brought his stance against the zone. It looked like he was going to hit the ball no matter how far it was. With a position like Sawamura, dealing with outside corner pitch is naturally no problem. But how do you target the ball in the inside corner? Next ball, slider ball in the inside corner. On the pitcher's mound, Miyano nodded and pitched the ball decisively. His current mood is actually similar to Takehara's, and being able to solve Sawamura is a very happy thing for them. They were just immersed in joy and neglected one thing. Sawamura's hitting rate is as high as 70%. Standing in the strike zone, will he not calm down? Stepping out with his right foot, Sawamura stepped aside from the inner corner and swung decisively at the inner corner. Ping! The white ball flew out and past the fielder's defense, forming a long hit. 100. Chapter 100. Overtake. Gone through. A long hit. Run, boy. As expected of the Demon King. Sawamura. With Sawamura's long hit, the scene fell into an inexplicable wild atmosphere. Not only the members of the Brotherhood of Red Hearts and the Demon King's Guard were crazy in the stands, but many fans who had supported Seco and even neutral fans followed suit. So much fun. Different from the speed duel on the base just now, this kind of pitching duel does not seem as novel as the speed duel, but it is even more amazing. The duel of resourcefulness, the duel of skills, the duel of mindset. The layman watches the fun, and then the door. Different people see different things when they see Sawamura's swing just now. Sawamura, has he completely grasped the opponent's thinking? In the rest area of Seco, Chris looked at Sawamura's figure running to second base with emotion and said, "By the way, Tetsuya took advantage of this opportunity and returned to home plate very easily. He cooperated with Sawamura to help Seco recover one run. It's just that everyone's attention is now not on Tetsu, who is returning to home plate, but on Sawamura, who has made a long hit." Including the players of Seco High School, most of them praise Sawamura. It is a beautiful hit. A good play is the general opinion of the players, but Chris and Kataoka saw something deeper. Simply speaking, Sawamura's skills at the bat are not as strong as his performance on the mound. Of course, he is not weak. In the current Seco, he is next only to Kaminato Ryosuke and Yuki Tetsuya. Similar to Chris and Miyuki, they are stronger than Isashiki Jun and Masuko Toru, but they are not much stronger. But even with such swinging skills, Eijun certainly has his own set of goals to achieve a hitting rate that is no less than that of the Yuki Tetsuya. Just like just now, seeing the opponent's pitching, Sawamura instantly understood the thoughts of Miyano and Takehara. The two wanted to use an aggressive pitching method to face off against Sawamura. Although Sawamura is good at hitting those pitches that are not too powerful, he also struggles to play corner balls like this. To secure a hit, Sawamura had to lock at a course from the start. But he's not as good at guessing the opponent's ball path as Chris and Miyuki. He doesn't know what ball the opponent will choose for the next ball, and it is even more difficult for Sawamura to hit certain balls. This is also where he is worse than Tetsuya and Ryosuke. Tetsuya has the skills that no matter what the opponent throws, he can hit. Ryosuke is also very scary. He observes the ball and swings with his extreme contact skills. Of course, Sawamura can have a 70% strike rate. Of course, he will not lack his own way to fight. Since there is no way to guess the opponent's ball, he lures the ball to where he wants the opponent to throw. This is why Sawamura could hit the inside corner ball, because he figured that as long as he stood close to the sideline of the strike zone, the opponent would definitely take an inside corner. This feeling is like a chess master. Yuki Tetsuya, Kaminato Ryosuke, Miyuki Kinzuya, Takegawa Krisyu, and Sawamura Eijun are all chess masters. Yuki Tetsuya relies on strong might. Kaminato Ryosuke relies on skills. And the two are a bit like the kind of genius who has cultivated chess skills since childhood. As for Miyuki and Chris, although they didn't learn chess for as long, they were smart and quickly became masters by learning various chess manuals. As for Sawamura, it's just pure experience. Just like the old wine cellar. Having faced off against all kinds of top players in the world for more than 10 years, Sawamura's understanding of himself and his judgment of various situations have already reached the point of turning dirt into gold. This is where he is the best. The total score is 1-1. The situation on the field is that no out and runner is at second base. Sixth, third baseman Masuko-kun. Yuga Masuko went to the strike zone. His huge body showed an extraordinary presence on the strike zone, making it hard for others not to look at him. Takehara was still immersed in the grief and anger that he had just been deceived. Cunning guy, seeing Sawamura stepping out, he also knew that he had been fooled. That kind of stride can't be done after seeing the ball. It has to be done before Miyano pitches. So, Sawamura aimed at the inner corner from the beginning. I've been fooled. Just now, he was proud, thinking that Sawamura had fallen into their trap, and he didn't expect that the other side would turn the situation around in the blink of an eye. It's embarrassing, forget it, it's natural to lose a point in that situation. Next, the most important thing is to get the number of outs. The catcher looked at Masuko in the box. His eyes became sharp. Be careful with the first ball. Never allow the opponent to hit consecutive hits. Ping. Throwing on this side, Masuko, who was aggressive on the other side, suddenly switched to a bunt and sent Sawamura to third base. Out. Masuko himself was banned from the game. 1 out, runner at third base. But now, Seto High School suddenly adopted the strategy of pressing step by step. Obviously, they made up their minds. Even if they exchanged 2 outs, they would have to win a point. The rest area of the Hakuryu High School. There are blue veins on the hands of Coach Sasaki, holding the stopwatch. Obviously, he really hadn't thought of Seta's tactic. No one was out just now. There is a runner at second base, and the batters in the back were not weak. He had thought that Kataoka would take a countermeasure of aggressive swinging. After all, the probability of scoring like that is not low. Unexpectedly, he has already begun to consider Miyano as a strong pitcher. When you can get a point, you must not be too greedy. Does he really trust this freshman as the 5th batter? The same tactic was supposed to work when Yuki was atop base. But Kataoka was silent at the time, and instead chose to let Sawamura go head-to-head with the pitcher. From this, it is not difficult to see the extent of Kataoka's trust in Sawamura's swing. If that's the case, then we can't make things go your way any more than that. With a click, the stopwatch cover in his hand was closed, and Sasaki's eyes became sharp. Move forward. The Hakuryu players who received the order rushed forward one by one, using forward defense. 7th, get Miyuki. Miyuki happily stood in the strike zone, and the opponent's fear of Sawamura was really surprising. However, it was a good thing for him. It was precisely because of their fears that it was easier for Miyuki to guess the ball. First ball, to the outside corner, barely a ball. On the strike zone, Miyuki stepped out in one step, sticking his entire body to the sideline of the strike zone, swinging the bat decisively. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew far away. Snap! As soon as the baseball hit the ground, Sawamura rushed back to home plate and helped Seto score a go-ahead run. The total score is 2-1. Miyuki also took the opportunity to get a second base. In the position of the catcher, Takehara's eyes were like seeing a ghost. In this ball, he made Miyano deliberately miss a lot, and Miyuki seemed to see through his heart, aiming for this ball and swung. How can that be? In the stands, a woman standing, holding her arms and smiling. If there is someone on the base, there is no more reliable batter than Miyuki Kuin. 1 out, runner at second base. Seta's attack has not stopped. 101. Chapter 101. Their hideous fangs with a total score of 2-1. With a hit from Miyuki, Sawamura returned to home plate, and Seto overtook Hakuryu High School. 1 out, runner at first base. 8th batter, right fielder, Shiratsu-kun. Shiratsu went to the strike zone. Eijun returned to the bench and gave Tetsu a high five. Nice job, senpai. You too. Isashiki's eyes almost popped out. Too much. Both guys had hits and runs. Compared with others, the performance seems to be obviously not in the same grade. But you can just show off your power on the field. Why do you have a bad habit of flaunting each other after you come down? So what do they do if they can't get hits? Pay attention to unity. Chris said coldly. Sawamura, your swing just now was immature, and you were almost shut out by the outfielder. You will need to practice more in the future. After Chris finished speaking, he turned his head and blamed Sawamura. Sawamura nodded again and again. I see, sure show. Honestly, the kind of swing that suddenly adjusts the form is really not easy for Sawamura. When he swings normally, it is easy for the ball to fly as long as the contact is good. But when he suddenly changes his striking form, and it is indeed due to luck that he can achieve such an effect. However, the swing just now is not a bad thing for Sawamura. Through that swing, Sawamura noticed one thing. It seemed that after the center of gravity was lowered, his swing made it easier for the ball to fly. Just after he stepped out, his whole body was a bit like a squatting stance, a turning swipe, and the center of gravity was very low. This may be the direction of his future evolution in batting. Sawamura thought. Listening to Chris educating Sawamura, Isashiki's face was even more ugly. Sure enough, the catcher does not know the good thing from bad. All mouth-wateringly, Sawamura won the RBI, but he was still bad. What was he who was directly shut out? Eyes returned to the field. 1 out, runner at first base. Seto High School's offense continued, and the batter on the field was Shiratsu, who had a very stable attacking strength. Facing Shiratsu, Mayano and Takehara did not despise him because he was a low-ranking batter, but they were very tricky with the ball. After tangled with a few balls, Shiratsu hit the ball. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew high in the infield. The pitcher, Mayano, raised his glove and caught the drop ball in his glove. Out! Shiratsu's face was pale. Only when he really stood in the strike zone did he realize the horror of Mayano. The ball speed of 135 kilometers is not considered a fastball in high school, but it is definitely not slow. As a pitcher, this speed of the ball cannot be considered an advantage, and it is difficult to target it as a disadvantage. In addition, Mayano can pitch to the inside and outside corners. Although the ball control is not as high as the 9-square grid, the basic center, the upper inner corner, the lower inner corner, the upper outer corner, and the lower outer corner can still be separated. In addition, the most terrifying thing is his variety of balls. Straight fastball, high-speed sliders, sinkers, and the forkball that popped up in this game, nice ball control, plus a full 4 high-level breaking balls. This pitcher, who looks unremarkable, is actually a very scary guy. It wasn't just Mayano who terrified Shiratsu, but also Yuki and Sawamura. How the two of them hit the ball out the first time they faced this pitcher. High school, it really is a place where monsters are rampant. Nint datter, bitor, tumbakun. Strike, strike, strike batter out. There was no suspense. Tampa was struck out. 3 outs, the offense and defense exchanged, and Seto High School's offense ended. Seto's rest area. Chris frowned and muttered to Kataoka, after adding the forkball, we simply choose one course, and we can't aim at all. There must be more choices. The reason why Kataoka asked Misuko to send Sawamura to the third base also saw Mayano's extraordinariness. This pitcher is difficult to overcome. After listening to Chris's analysis, he nodded, we'll talk about it when we attack. It is now the first half of the 3rd inning, and the Hakuryu High School is attacking. Hakuryu's rest area. Mayano was lying on the lounge chair without keeping his image. I'm exhausted. In his mind, the figure of Yuki when he made the swing and Sawamura kept popping up. Damn, really scary. Not to mention Yuki, Sawamura is also extremely difficult to deal with. There is also Miyuki, who seems to be able to read people's minds, making people even more uncomfortable. As expected of Seto, there are so many terrifying guys gathered. This kind of pressure, even in Koshian, Mayano had barely seen it a few times. He had a hunch that once he let this lineup hit, it would be a complete explosion. So much that Hakuryu High School and himself will definitely be doomed. As a pitcher, isn't it my responsibility to avoid this situation? Opening his eyes, Mayano lost a little bit of innocence before and was a little bit more serious and domineering. 1 run behind. The opportunity is good now. I have already experienced Tampa's pitching before. This time, it is time for us to attack. In the first half of the 3rd round, Hakuryu attacked. First batter, shortstop Shindo Koen. The first player to play is Shindo, and he still has a normal attacking form. In the position of the catcher, Miyuki observed him and prepared the ball based on the information he had collected before. beware of his bunts. Shindo's speed is very fast, and bunts are not impossible. But at the same time, his swing was good, and Miyuki didn't dare to let the fielders advance. Moving forward means leaving the fixed fielding position, which also means that there will be a gap in the defense. Now Seco can only respond to changes with the same thing. When he sees the batter using a short hold, the infielder runs forward consciously. After making up his mind, Miyuki gave Tampa a sign. On the mound, Tampa nodded and pitched. Snap. Strike. On the first ball, Shindo did not swing or use a butt. The young players from Seco, who had been waiting for it to come forward, breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the other party has no intention of using a butt. This idea has just emerged, and it has not waited for everyone to think about it. Tampa's second pitch is thrown. Shindo, who was normally preparing strike, suddenly held the bat short. Ping! The white ball was hit, landed, and rolled toward third base. Aga! When Masuko saw that Shindo was using the short bat, he rushed forward quickly. It's just that his body is too bulky. Even though he is already fast compared to the average fat man, he is still a little chunky, a little slower in catching, a little slower in passing. Just these 2 points made Masuko miss the opportunity to block the batter. Safe. He was a little faster than passing the ball, and Shindo succeeded at his gamble. No one out, runner at first base. The Hakuryu High School, which uses mobility as a weapon, finally began to reveal their hideous fangs. 102. Chapter 102. Pitcher substitution. No out, runner at first base. Moreover, the runner on the base is extremely fast. The situation became serious for Seco. My fault. Miyuki took the initiative to take responsibility. He was afraid that the runners on the base would affect Tampa, so he took the initiative to share the pressure on Tampa. On the mound, Tampa's brows also furrowed. This ball, to be honest, the pitcher's responsibility is not great. On the responsibility part, Miyuki has a little bit, and Masuko has more. As for whose fault is this really? In fact, it is no one's fault. The most important reason why the runner can go to the base is that he is fast enough. From Miyuki's standpoint, he was responsible for not forwarding the defense in advance. But is it all right for him to do that? On the contrary, if there are gaps in the defense, and Shindo may also rely on batting to get a hit. No one can say such a thing. Strictly speaking, Miyuki's arrangement is fine. Watch out for bunts, but don't change the defensive formation. And from the standpoint of Masuko, he was also very responsible. With such a big body, a sprint can still be made, even if his agility is definitely not comparable to Kuramochi and Kaminado. But the runner was so fast, and Masuko couldn't increase his agility all of a sudden. There is not much responsibility on anyone, but the runner is on base, and there is always a reason. If you really want to find one reason, it can only be said that the speed of Shindo is indeed fast enough, and such runners on the base are the most terrifying. He's too fast and poses a bigger threat on the base. Miyuki took all the responsibility on himself to prevent Tampa from paying too much attention to the runners. But is it that easy? Miyuki opened his mouth to take the responsibility. Can Tampa stop paying attention to the runner? That is, of course, impossible. What's more, Shindo is standing so far from the base. Damn! Tampa's eyes became hideous, and he suddenly threw a restraint at the first. In this regard, Shindo was also well prepared and saw Tampa's action directly dived to the first base. Safe. Tisk. On the mound, Tampa calmed down a bit and turned to face the batter. At this time, the runner quietly moved to the second base. Tampa's pupils suddenly widened. He had a hunch that as long as he pitched the ball, the guy would definitely run. Miyuki didn't dare to let Tampa completely ignore the runners at this time. With the speed of the Hakuryu runners, if they were given a chance, they would never give up stealing bases. Really, it's hard to deal with. Once there are runners on the base, Hakuryu's offense immediately becomes different and alive. After holding back a bit, Tampa threw a ball. Snap. Ball. The pitch was slightly off the strike zone. Because he wanted to restrain the runner, Tampa couldn't put all his energy into dealing with the batters. At this time, he started to have problems with the ball control. Ball. With 3 balls in a row, Tampa struggled on the edge of a walk. Miyuki's heart sank. At this time, it was hard to inspire Tampa with words alone. "Senpai, you must hold on." With a prayer in his heart, Miyuki gave back the ball. Snap. Ball. 4-ball walk. Miyuki's face was so ugly that he was dying. The last ball just now, obviously hovering on the edge of the strike zone, was an ambiguous ball. The referee even said it was a ball. Has the impression of bad control been left in the referee's mind? In this way, the subsequent battles will be more difficult to fight. The batter Hoshino was walked to first base, and Shindo, who was originally first base, was pushed into second base. No one out, runners at first and second base. It's the turn of the third batter, Mima Soichiro. Crisis, a huge crisis. In the rest area of Seedoo, manager Oda was obviously a little bit restless. He looked left and right, but didn't know a good way out. No matter how big the crisis is, there's always a plan ahead, and the situation on the field is only that there are runners at first and second base, and no one has advanced to third base. At this time, they should believe in their own ace, right? But for some reason, Oda was uneasy, feeling as if something was going to happen. In the position of the catcher, Miyuki's head was hurting. To be honest, he really didn't want to run into Mima when someone was on the base. This guy, Mima, is too dangerous. Now there are not only a runner on the base, but 2 runners. And the number of outs, there is none. And now, they had to face Mima. Difficult. Miyuki took a deep look at Tampa, and his heart was a little sad. You must hold on, Tampa-senpai. If it ends like this, it will be very difficult for you to compete with that stinky boy Sawamura for the throne of the ace. And then, even if the ace number is given to you, what kind of pride do you have to wear that number on the field? First ball. Ball to low inside corner. Don't worry, with Mima's current state of mind, he will definitely swing the bat. This way we can use a foul to get strike first. Victory is like building the Great Wall. It needs to be accumulated continuously. As long as a certain amount is accumulated, miracles can naturally be triggered. A single section of the Great Wall of China, placed with the buildings of ancient civilizations, may not be so magnificent. But when it reaches thousands of miles, it is a marvel of the world. Let's remove this mountain together and turn things around, Tampa-senpai. Miyuki showed a very strong will to catch. I haven't fallen to the point of letting you educate a Kohai. Tampa pitched the ball, but this ball missed up the pitch. The ball did not reach the edge of the inner corner, but instead was located in the center of the inner corner. Miyuki's eyes suddenly showed despair. Done. The ball will be swept out. On the strike zone, a glimmer of light flashed in Mima's eyes. Looking at the flying baseball, he smashed it brutally. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew far away. Fly out. 3-point golden home run. Wow! With a total score of 4-2, Hakuryu completed the reversal with the help of a strong batter Mima. After that, Takehara took the zone. Ping! He got a weak hit, but scored a base with his speed. The situation on the field became that no out and runner at first base. The rest area of Seedoo High School. Kataoka closed his eyes in pain and gave the order firmly. Pitcher substitution. Tampa returned to the rest area, and outfielder Sawamura took the pitcher's mound. Sakai replaced Sawamura as outfielder. Tampa returned to the dugout. Kataoka's eyes, even through the sunglasses, felt extremely cold. The first is to be concerned about the runner, and then throw the 4 balls. Then threw sweet balls in a row and was chased by batters. What did you learn in high school for the past 3 years? If you've always performed like this before the summer games, you don't have to think about the ace number. I wouldn't give the number 1 of Seedoo to a glass pitcher who is prone to collapse easily. Think about this experience. Remember how you pitched in the last fall. Get back to where you were as soon as possible, and don't let these guys who are waiting for you down. With the towel covering his face, Tampa lay on the bench without saying a word. No one knew what he was thinking at that moment. 103. Chapter 103. The Demon King's Eyes. 3 hits, including a homer and a 3-run hit. Compared with Tampa's previous performance, Tampa's current performance in this inning was simply incredible. The pitcher is really a high-risk position. As a result of the current situation, Tampa only missed 2 pitches. If a pitcher wants to pitch a whole game, he must throw at least 100 pitches. Pitching more than 100 balls No one can guarantee that he will not miss a single ball. But mistakes are mistakes. The key is to win, and what kind of mistakes. Tampa's biggest problem is not that he missed 2 pitches, but that he made mistakes at the most inappropriate time and in the most inappropriate situation. For a real ace, the most important thing is to be stable at critical moments. In a game like this, Tampa still has the ace number behind him. With Kataoka's personality, he usually doesn't replace Tampa in the middle of a game that is not over. This is too embarrassing for Tampa. So even if Tampa was hit by a 3-point home run, Kataoka didn't want to replace him. But after being hit with a home run, instead of cheering up, Tampa threw a sweet ball again. No one can fault Kataoka. Seco is a giant, after all, not some little-known team. Here, a single mistake is unforgivable. Make 2 mistakes in a row and you want to stay on the field, that's absolutely impossible. Sawamura is the pitcher on the mound in this situation. No outs, runner at first base. The runner is Takehara, the main catcher of Hakuryu High School, and the 4th batter. At the same time, his speed is also among the best in the team. The batter was a second-year Kitawi, who is also a strong batter. In terms of batting alone, he might not be under the 4th batter Takehara. In the current situation, even though no one is on second base, third base, the scoring spots. But the situation Sawamura faced was still not easy. The rest area of the Hakuryu High School. Sasaki holding the stopwatch, looking at Sawamura on the pitcher's mound. There was a slight smile on the corner of his mouth. This is the real ace of Seco High School. Even though he is only in 1st grade, the pitching and everything is perfect. So far in the games has not revealed any loopholes. Then let me see how much of an ace you are. Thinking about it, he stared at Sawamura pitching the ball, and since Sawamura raised his foot to make a pitching motion, he had pinched his watch. Whoosh! The speed of the baseball was very fast, and it entered Miyuki's glove in the blink of an eye. Snap! Strike! 1 strike, 0 ball. With a click, Sasaki paused the stopwatch. The time is 1.35 seconds. Judging from the data he had studied before, Miyuki's containment speed was very fast, but it was also 1.93 seconds. Adding the 2 together is 3.28 seconds. Takehara's fastest stealing time from first base to second base was 3.3 seconds. In theory, they should barely be able to stop Takehara from stealing the base. But this is just a theory. Whether it can be stopped or not will only be known after trying it. Next ball, look for opportunities, steal bases. After the data collection was completed, Sasaki decisively gave Takehara a sign to let him go when he found chance. Stealing from first base to second base is different from going to first base from the strike zone. First, you can run directly without changing your posture. Second, you can also leave the base for a distance, and the 2 add up to shorten the time a lot. Like Takehara, it usually takes 3 seconds and 3 to go from first base to second base normally. Count 1, 2, 3, and then they could go to second base. This is the terrible thing about the Hakuryu. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura glanced at Takehara. Takehara subconsciously was vigilant. He thought that Sawamura wanted to restrain him. Unexpectedly, Sawamura did not. He just glanced at him, then turned back to look at the batter. What's the meaning? Takehara is like being caught by the police as a thief, and then the police do not pay attention to you. Steal the base and feel guilty. Don't steal bases. He feels like a wasted opportunity again. You are, before Takehara could think about it. A small white ball flew over without warning and flew to first base. Out. Sawamura's eyes didn't even turn. How did he throw the ball? With such thought throwing in his mind, the sweat on Takehara's body came down. Fortunately, his tempered body at this time had a natural reaction, jumped up, and threw himself on the first base bag. Snap! The baseball burrowed into the knotted glove. Safe. Really scary, not allowing Takehara to take a breath. The result was to pass the ball back to Sawamura. Without seeing Sawamura re-preparing, he just stepped out so naturally and then pitched the ball. Whoosh! At the first base, Takehara had just climbed up and did not have time to prepare to steal a base. So fast. Sawamura's rhythm is too fast. Does he need no prep time for pitching? Snap! Strike! This ball, Sawamura pitched a changeup. Kitawi hurriedly swung the bat, but the bat failed, and the ball came late. The count is 2 strikes and 1 ball. Nice pitch. Satisfied, Miyuki passed the ball back to Sawamura. Sure enough, working with a stinky brat like Sawamura is more worry-free than working with Tampa-senpai. You don't have to worry about what's on the mound. Sawamura does a good job by himself. Steel base restraint and accelerated pitching rhythm. The most powerful thing is that even if the pitching rhythm is accelerated, Sawamura's ball control and ball power are not affected in the slightest. Sawamura, Sawamura. One more ball, one more ball. The Brothers of the Red Heart and the Demon King's guards shouted slogans excitedly in the stands. The slogan is slightly different. The Brotherhood of Red Heart is simply cheering for Sawamura, and the members of the Demon King's guard want more, and with one more ball, he can strike out his opponent. How can you, the Demon King, not show dominance when you appear? Sidhu's rest area. Chris glanced behind him at Tampa with a towel over his head, who was blind, and then glanced at Sawamura on the pitcher's mound. Too strong. Even if it's not Tampa's best state now, Tampa still has the strength he should have. And such Tampa, in front of Sawamura, is equal to being crushed in all directions. Ball speed, ball power, characteristics, break, defense, mentality, and skills. In everything a pitcher has, Tampa can't compare to Sawamura. The ace is ironclad. And even the ace's back number, if Tampa can't get back to his previous state, looks like he'll have to hand it over to someone else. Chris was a little worried about his friend. Anyone who has worked hard for 3 years will not be willing not to play and be a substitute, especially when you've been an ace before, and it's a different feeling when you turn around and let yourself be a backup. 104. Chapter 104. The Demon King's Magic. Like most schools, Sidhu will also take care of the third-year players, but you must have strength. Of course, Sidhu's care is fundamentally different from that of other schools. In ordinary schools, the third grade is the main force, and there are even countless starters. It is not that there is no consideration of the issue of strength at all. Sidhu is different. To enter the string first, you must really have strength. Otherwise, no matter what grade you are in, you can only stay in the second string or even the third string. Then, if you are a substitute, and the junior in the same position as you're also a substitute, even if there's a slight gap in strength, Sidhu will usually give the main force to the third-year players. This is how Sidhu takes care. Of course, if your strength can only be a substitute, the lower grades will be the main players, and the back numbers of the main players will still be given to the lower grades. That's how Miyuki and Kuramochi got their numbers. Both of them are much stronger than the third graders in the same position. They are the undeniable starting main force in the team. Like Kataoka's previous plans, if Sidhu played with Tampa and Sawamura as a double ace plan in the summer, the ace number would be given to Tampa. But if you play Sawamura's single ace plan, Tampa can only serve as a relief pitcher to save Sawamura's stamina. The ace number will definitely not be given to Tampa. This is Sidhu. Strength is respected, but also a little humane. Pulled you out ruthlessly and still continue to talk about your future. 2 strikes, 0 ball. Takehara has no intention of giving up stealing bases. He believes in his teammates. But just when he was about to steal the base, Sawamura gave him another look. One glance, just one. It was as if Takehara had been hit by a body-freezing spell, and he couldn't move at all. On the other hand, Sawamura threw his third ball against Katawi. Whoosh! A small white ball that flies off the edge of the inner corner. The poor boy waved his bat with a pale face. When the bat was about to touch the baseball suddenly broke inward. This break just avoided Katawi's swing. Snap! Strike, batter out. In the final ball, Sawamura threw a cutter. 1 out, runner at first base. Takehara, who received the sign of his own coach and was about to steal the base, seemed stupid during the whole process. He didn't move a step. In the dugout of the Hakuryu High School, Superintendent Sasaki closed the stopwatch cover in his hand heavily. Clap. No, very wrong. Katawi would get a strikeout, and it looked like a normal inside corner pitch. Sasaki really didn't like it. Katawi will be struck out like that by Sawamura's inside corner pitch. The strangest thing is not him, but Takehara. Takehara didn't even move a step. Sasaki's expression is almost like a ghost in broad daylight. Hakuryu's stealing tactic is very straightforward. He only starts to act after seeing the pitcher enter the pitching motion. In theory, They could steal a base and fail, but absolutely no one can pin them to the base bag and keep them immobile. But now, the most unlikely thing has happened. Takehara was pinned to first base, unable to move. Sasaki is very trusting of his own students. The reason Takehara didn't move is because he thought that as long as he moved, he would be out of the game. Anti-theft containment. This skill is not difficult. It belongs to the basic skills of pitchers. But Sasaki has never heard anyone say that someone can stop runners from stealing bases by relying on the anti-theft tactics alone. You can't keep staring at the runner without pitching, right? As long as you pitch, in theory, there are bound to be flaws. Look for an opportunity and continue. Confused, Sasaki felt that he needed more information, so he gave Takehara an order to continue. The next batter from Hakuryu is the sixth batter. When the sixth batter of the Hakuryu High School stood on the strike zone, he saw Sawamura on the pitcher's mound, his eyes never taking his eyes off him. There should be a chance. The pitcher's attention is all on the batter, and the runners should have a chance to steal bases. At the position of first base, Takehara took a step towards second base, preparing to steal a base. Whoosh! Then, without any sign, Sawamura's containment ball came over. Before the containment, Sawamura didn't even glance in the direction of first base. Is that the case again? Takehara was almost crying because of Sawamura's action. He hurriedly flew back to first base. After the containment, the ball was quickly passed back to Sawamura. It's now. Takehara, who had already suffered a loss, of course, knew that Sawamura would throw the ball soon after he caught it. If he doesn't move quickly, he won't have time to steal bases. He stood up neatly and took a step towards second base. Whoosh! Unexpectedly, Sawamura, who was catching the ball over there, had no intention of throwing the ball at all, but continuously threw the ball to contain it. Takehara, who had just gotten up, was standing in the position of stealing the base, was frightened by the white sweat on his body, and had to fall down again. By a tiny margin, he returned to first base like his life depended on it. Safe! Yuki made a pass, and Takehara stood up again this time. Then Sawamura sends another ball, pinning him to the base. 3 times in a row. By the 4th time, Sawamura finally pitched normally. Whoosh! At this time, Takehara wanted to steal the base, but his body seemed to be rigid and didn't obey him at all. To be precise, it shouldn't be that it didn't obey, but that he subconsciously wanted to fall down to the base again. This subconscious action conflicted with the base stealing order in his brain, causing him to stalemate for a few tenths of a second. When he came back to his senses, Sawamura had already thrown the ball. Whoosh! Strike! Strike! Strike, batter out. 2 outs, runner on first base. 7 gatter, Peter Miyano-kun. Miyano looked at Takehara on the first base bag as if looking at an alien. Takehara has not left first base until now. This shit is so incredible. Could this guy Sawamura be able to do magic? Before Miyano could figure out what was going on, he saw another magic trick from Sawamura. What's going on? You can't see the pitch at all. Moreover, this ball is too fast. Strike! Strike! Strike, batter out. No suspense, 3 strikeouts, 3 ups, and 3 downs. Miyano couldn't do anything to face Sawamura's most common straight ball. He wasn't a strong batter, and he couldn't get used to Sawamura's peculiar pitch. He couldn't even grasp the timing of his swing. Unless the blind cat met a dead mouse, he would never have been able to hit Sawamura's ball. 3 outs, offense, and defense exchange. On the first base bag, Takehara was almost crippled by playing. Hakuryu is famous all over the nation for its maneuverability and has made a name for itself in the whole country. But in the face of Sawamura, there was no stealing base. Needless to say, success or failure, he didn't even get to second base, an extra step. In the dugout of the Hakuryu, facing the curious eyes of his teammates, Takehara could only smile bitterly. If I steal bases, I just give them an extra out. In other words, if his opponent was Sawamura, he would not be able to steal bases at all. In the second half of the 3rd inning, Seto High School attacked. First batter, shortstop Kuramochi-kun. The lineup rotated, and finally, it was time for Seto to fight back. 105, Chapter 105. The Devil Brother strikes again. The sunshine in May is not as hot as summer, nor is it a bit cool as autumn. It's warm and comfortable. People like spring outings just because the weather is good. You rarely hear people say that some people like summer travel or winter travel. Today is also a good day. The sun shines on people, which is warm and makes people want to sleep. This comfortable sun shines on the players of Hakuryu High School, but they don't have the heart to enjoy it. In the seating area opposite to them, the batters from Seto High School are already gearing up, ready to attack. Kuramochi Yoichi, Kaminato Ryosuke, Isashiki Jun, Yuki Tatsuya, Sawamura Eijun, Masuko Toru, Miyuki Kinzuya, Shiratsu Kinjiro, Sakai Aikaro. Looking at this kind of lineup, you'll feel it's not easy to mess with these guys. When these people stood together, the surging momentum exuded from them was as if they were going to devour people alive. And it's not the same as it felt at first. In the beginning, the two sides hadn't played against each other. Even if they knew that their opponent was strong, they didn't have a personal experience. But it's different now. Not only do they know that the other party is strong, but they also experience it themselves. That kind of heavy pressure is even more frightening. This is the feeling these players in the current Hakuryu High School have right now. It is precisely because they have seen the strength of Seto High School's batters that they are even more frightened. Can they really hold these guys down for 3 or 4 more innings? The score was 4-2, and Hakuryu High School was 2 points ahead. Usually, this should be a bit reassuring, but right now, they were not sure of winning. Before going to the field, they even hesitated. Superintendent Sasaki, who was on the side, saw his own players. Except for Mima, everyone else was more or less stiff. Sawamura just played for 1 inning. Did he bring so much pressure to everyone? The opponent's pitcher pitches well, so that there is no hope of easy scoring on the line, and pressure will naturally arise in the team. When this happens, the opponent's advantage will be continuously enlarged. Except for star players like Mima, even if others have good strength, it is difficult to keep up with their mentality. This game is tough. Sasaki pinched the stopwatch, nervous to death, but boosting morale was really not what he was good at. "Senpai, look at you." Just when Sasaki was at a loss, he saw Mima running to the pitcher and said to Mayano. Mayano's originally tense expression suddenly relaxed. "In the finals in Kanto, we have no way out. Let's fight." Eyes widened. Mayano said in a firm tone, "I will throw the ball with all my strength. To be honest, I can't say whether I can suppress Seto's batters. In short, the defense behind me is up to everyone." Mayano senpai. The Hakuryu's players looked at Mayano, who seemed to be risking everything, and there was an inexplicable trace of fighting spirit flowing from his body. Fight! When the giants fight against each other, the field has always become red. Since Seto wanted to work hard, they also took out their courage to play with Seto's players. Facing the pressure that Seto put on them, they returned it back too. In the second half of the 3rd inning, Seto High School attacked. First pitch, shortstop Kuramochi. Kuramochi stood on the right-hand box. After Takehara glanced at him, he guessed in his mind, "Want to strike normally? Then with the first ball, let's aim for the inside corner." Ping. Throwing the ball there, Kuramochi quickly made a bunt to intercept it. The small white ball was knocked out by the bat, and Kuramochi rushed to first base. Don't think about it. Kuramochi's strategy was right. He had deceived Takehara, but he had not deceived Kitawi. Before, Kitawi was surprised by Kuramochi's speed. Even if he was standing on a right-handed box, Kitawi was wary of him using bunts early in the fight. So, before Kuramochi bunted, Kitawi started running. Pick up the ball first and send it to first base. At this time, Mayano was already at the first base. Snap! Out! Kuramochi failed to hit base again. Damn! This feeling was too annoying for Kuramochi. Twice on base in a row. If he had known earlier, he would have hit it normally. Kuramochi was depressed, but the people at Hakuryu High School were happy. Beautiful fielding. Stealing the base in front of Hakuryu High School. You are still 100 years early. Hakuryu. 1 out, no one on base. It's the second batter, Kaminato Ryosuke. After Kaminato Ryosuke stood in the strike zone, his performance was no different from before. Ordinary stance, ordinary batting stance. But it was this ordinary stance that gave Takehara a headache. In Seto High School, the strong batters are like Yuki, and the cunning batters are like Sawamura and Miyuki. These are actually easy to handle. The way to handle them is simple and straightforward, and the Hakuryu High School also dealt with their fair share of these kinds of batters. You are a famous school, and we're also a famous school. It's not a big deal. No one can say who will win. But Kaminato Ryosuke is different. This guy is more difficult to deal with than Yuki, Miyuki, and Sawamura. Continuously hitting the ball out of bounds, deliberately draining the pitcher's pitches, forcing the pitcher to throw 4-ball pitches. Takehara had never heard of such a person before, but he has seen it now, and he is their opponent. Headache to death. Takehara looked at Kaminato Ryosuke with bad eyes, and the more he looked, the more he felt that Kaminato Ryosuke hated him. Playing against him, the most important thing is the power of the ball, so that he can't let the ball fly out of bounds easily. Like that, his swinging will be hard. Takehara gave Miyano a sign, and Miyano nodded secretly when he saw the sign. Then he pitched the ball. In the face of this ball, Kaminato Ryosuke swung the bat directly. Ping! The small white ball was hit, passed through the gap of the fielders, landed, and flew out to the outfield. Unlike the first round, Ryosuke chose a direct hit this time. 106. Chapter 106. Fallen on the field or runners on base. Seeing Kaminato Ryosuke stepping on first base, the morals of the players from the Hakuryu High School subconsciously sank. The opponent is Sidu, and it is ideal for no one to go to base. Once someone goes to base, they will inevitably fall into passive. 1 out. At this time, a voice suddenly came from the position of the center field. Mima Soichiro is giving the pitcher some spirit. 1 out. Let the batter come over, we'll stop it. Miyano pitched boldly. In the face of hits, Hakuryu's fielders, led by Mima, encouraged and supported the pitcher Miyano on the pitcher's mound. In the stands, the fans in the Brotherhood of the Red Heart and the Demon King's guards watched in surprise at the scene in front of them. So familiar, it's just that it wasn't Sidu or Sawamura who did all this, but their opponents. Shameless thief. This is a steal. The people who are supporting Sidu look at Hakuryu High School like this. They feel that an evil fire is simmering in their chest. Kill them. Roar spits. It's time for you to show your strength. The two teams that are playing on the field are not doing well, but the fans and spectators who support them off the field are excited first. Amada spits. In the strike area, Isashiki's face was ashen with the audience. But anger is anger, and hits are still necessary. In the face of the flying baseball, he actively swung the bat. Ping! The white ball was hit high and flew out. In the center field position, Mima rushed to the landing spot of the white ball early and caught it. Out! 2 outs, runner at first base. In the dugout of Sidu, Chris held the recorder's pen in his hand and let it spin nimbly in his hand. It's a fishing ball. The reason why Isashiki Jun was solved just now was the result of a fishing ball. It seems that our opponents have studied us very thoroughly. Miyuki nodded, agreeing. Hearing the discussion between the two, Kataoka nodded and said, "High school baseball today is no longer as simple as it used to be, and intelligence warfare is getting more and more attention." During the conversation between the three people, Sidu's fourth batter, Yuki Tetsuya, got into the strike zone. In the position of the catcher, Takehara's heart sank subconsciously. Coming. Sidu's strongest batter. Now we're ahead and have 2 outs, but it's not even a guarantee. Takehara thought and glanced at his own rest area. At this time, he needed to know the plans of his own coach. Aggressively attack. Sasaki's instructions were simple and direct, and he was still aggressive. Although 2 outs, there is nothing wrong with walking the batter. But 2 outs are not a good opportunity to decide the outcome. At this time, solving the Yuki head-on will definitely have unexpected benefits. Taking the instructions, Takehara nodded and conveyed the meaning to Miyano. It will be really embarrassing. On the pitcher's mound, Miyano complained unwillingly. The active offense is easy to say, but the opponent is Yuki Tetsuya. Can tricky pitching really solve him? Miyano was skeptical about this. They used the same strategy to deal with Sawamura before, and didn't they fail? It's just that the coach said that. As an ace, how can you back down? No matter what kind of monsters you face, they will be solved by you. Miyano steeled his heart and pitched the ball. The ball's path is to the inside corner and deviates a bit from the zone. Tetsuya did not swing the bat in the face of this ball and move sideways. Snap. Ball. After a ball, Mayano threw the second ball nonstop, this ball into the strike zone. Tetsu, who had been waiting for a long time, unceremoniously swung the bat against the ball. Ping. After the white ball was swept, it flew out of bounds. Foul. This ball, when entering the plate, slid into the inner corner. With a long sigh of relief, the hand holding the bat lifted up, aimed at the mound, and then resumed his stance. Bring it on. In the catcher's position, Takehara watched in shock at the ball that was hit out of bounds by Yuki. Fast, incredibly fast. When the ball was hit, it flew past like a flash of light. The fielders didn't react at all. If such a ball falls within the bounds, can the players really stop it? In this regard, Takehara was deeply suspicious. Strong as a monster. Even though Takehara himself was the fourth batter of a famous school, he couldn't help but be startled when he saw Tetsuya's swing. However, now we don't have a better chance. We can only choose a showdown here. Come on, Mayano. On the mound, Mayano pitched. Whoosh. A small white ball flies to the inner corner. On the strike zone, Yuki Tetsuya was like a high-level swordsman entering a state of meditation, motionless like a statue. After waiting for the ball to enter his hand, he suddenly opened his eyes and swung his bat. Ping! The white ball flew out, landed, and flew out against the third base sideline. Fust, skia fust. Done. Although the ball was in front of the third baseman, Takehara closed his eyes in despair. A third baseman can't reach out and catch a ball at this speed. The ball is about to fly away. At this time, Hakuryu's third baseman threw himself up. Boom! The bat hit the third baseman with a grunt. The third baseman, visible to the naked eye, turned pale. But even so, he picked up the ball first and sent it to first base. Out. 3 outs, offense, and defense exchange. If that's the case, it's just because Sidu was unlucky and failed to score points. But next, Hakuryu, the third baseman who had just passed the ball to the first base, fell down and didn't get up. The game is suspended. After a simple examination by doctors, the third baseman had a fractured rib and needed to rest for more than 3 months. In other words, it may be difficult for him to catch up with this year's summer competition. For a third-year player, this result is really cruel. Watching the teammates being carried down by the doctor, the momentum of the Hakuryu High School changed. Their eyes were all red as if they were going to fight with Sidu. In this regard, Sidu's players feel very aggrieved. The power of a ball over 180 kilometers, even if it bounces off the ground, is scary, right? You just use your body to stop it up. No one can get out of it safely. The players of Sidu felt that they really couldn't blame them for this, and even felt a little guilty for that. Anyway, other players are injured, and it is them who cause it. Do not blame yourself. When the Tetsu came back, Karaoka comforted him. Yes, there is guilt in Tetsuya's eyes, but he has no regrets. Even if it happens again, he will still swing. The game continues. In the first half of the fourth inning, Hakuryu High School attacked. 107. Chapter 107. Cold-blooded battery in the first half of the fourth inning, Hakuryu attacked. The injury of the third baseman of Hakuryu completely stirred the blood in the hearts of Hakuryu's players. There has never been a moment when they were as united and as hungry for victory as they are now. To win, they must win no matter what. Otherwise, how can they be worthy of their injured teammate? This kind of unity made Hakuryu's momentum unprecedentedly high. Even if they are attacking with the lower lineup now, Hakuryu has shown extraordinary aggression. On the other hand, in Sidu, the atmosphere is somewhat dignified. On the pitcher mound, Sawamura looked solemn. At the position of the catcher, Miyuki's face was also a bit dazed. At this time, even if everyone wants to cheer, they can't say it. Even if the injury of the third baseman of the Hakuryu has nothing to do with them. After all, the two sides are in a game, and someone on the first team is injured. This feeling is not good. It's not a good idea to think that way, but it's a good opportunity to attack. In the rest area of the Hakuryu High School, Sasaki gave his disciples a sign. Actively swing, actively run to base. Let's use the champion of Kanto as the last gift for our teammate, who has been in high school for 3 years. On the strike zone, Hakuryu's 8th bat nodded, then put on a stance. In the position of the catcher, Miyuki had no intention of giving Sawamura a signal, but just put the gloves in a position. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura also casually pitched. It seems that both of them are not in the state. Whoosh! Sawamura even didn't use his pitching form, where Katawi and Mayano couldn't see the ball before he threw it. The ball is not particularly fast in the eyes of the batter. The speed of the ball should be similar to Mayano-senpai's, and the position is in the center of the inner corner. How could Hakuryu's eighth batter resist such a sweet ball? He swung the bat straight away. Ping! The small white ball flew out. The moment the bat touched the baseball, Hakuryu's eighth batter had a strange expression on his face. It seems that the power of the ball is not very strong. Was the power of the ball so frightening that he almost couldn't hold the bat? Judging from the information collected before, Sawamura's pitch should not have such power. That is to say, did the swing miss the center of the ball? Anxiety in his heart disappeared in a flash. The eighth bat of the Hakuryu High School, after hitting the ball, he threw away the bat and ran to first base. The baseball was poorly hit and landed right in front of the shortstop. Kuramochi didn't say his catchphrase. Someone was injured just now, and his laughing here is bad. Although there is no catchphrase, his movements are not slow at all. One strode forward, picked up the ball, and sent it to first base. Snap! Out! Damn! Hakuryu's eighth bat annoyed. Finally, Sawamura threw a sweet ball, but he didn't expect him to waste the opportunity. 1 out, no one on base. In the stands, Kanemaru looked at Sawamura on the pitcher's mound worriedly. Hey, that stinky boy, is he okay? Even he felt that Sawamura's pitching right now was very problematic. Although he didn't have the terrifying speed of Furuya, the quality of Sawamura's pitching was also very high. When he saw Sawamura pitching for the first time, and how he saw how hard hit it was, he was sure there must be a few who could hit him off directly. But in these few, it is absolutely impossible to have the eighth batter of Hakuryu High School as one of them. But these guys just hit it. This made Kanemaru have to worry about Sawamura's state. And looking at the spirit of Sawamura and Miyuki, it seems that they haven't recovered from the loss of the player's injury just now. It has nothing to do with us just now. The third baseman was injured because of his own mistake. Kanemaru couldn't help but growl. Beside him, a baby-faced Haruchi grabbed him and said, "Don't get excited, Kanemaru-kun. I feel that things shouldn't be that simple." Kanemaru looked at Kaminato Haruchi in confusion. Eijun-kun is not the kind of person who punishes himself because of other people's mistakes. Even if he did, this kind of performance is still possible with Miyuki-senpai around. Kaminato Haruchi didn't go on, but Kanemaru guessed it wasn't a good thing. Anyway, I don't think they would be so virtuous that because someone in the Hakuryu was injured, they would tie their hands and be merciful. On the field, the ninth batter of the Hakuryu High School went to the strike zone. As for Sawamura and Miyuki, it seems that they still haven't recovered from their previous emotions. Some soft-hearted viewers understood Sawamura and Miyuki's thoughts very well. In any case, that third year was like saying goodbye to his high school career. As a player on the field, emotional ups and downs are inevitable. After all, they're not cold-hearted machines. The players are also human, and they're also ordinary people. Fight out, fight out! Seeing Sawamura and Miyuki's listless appearance further aroused the hostility in the ninth batter of the Hakuryu High School. He wanted to swing no matter what. At this time, Sawamura's pitch came. The ball is straight and in the middle. Pitcher error. If it was before, the Hakuryu's batter might have hesitated. Doubt is a trap, but now, he doesn't care so much anymore and just swings his bat. He subconsciously believed that Sawamura, who is now absent-minded, might have missed the pitch. Sawamura may have good strength, but there is one thing that cannot be changed. No matter how good he is still a freshman after all. Let's go. Aiming at the path of the ball, Hakuryu's ninth bat hit the ball far away. The ball was hit very far, and it flew 70 or 80 meters before it landed. In the center field, Isashiki Jun waited early for the baseball to land and raised his glove to catch the ball in the glove. Out. 2 outs, no one on base. The ninth batter of the Hakuryu High School, returning to his dugout, still blames himself greatly. Damn, I'm still not strong enough. If I had more power, I'd hit a home run. Now this pitcher is simply vulnerable. Shindo, don't miss the opportunity. Fight. beat this guy back to his hometown in Tokyo. The batters of the Hakuryu High School were in high spirits. In the stands, a professional scout shook his head in admiration. At this time, his assistant was discussing the game with him incessantly. High school students, their psychological quality and ability to bear are just bad. Sidhu's battery, which was originally quite strong, didn't expect to lose everything because of an accident. But there is no way. Who made them students, and their minds are inevitably simpler. Poor mental capacity, pure and kind-hearted. The professional scout turned to look at Miyuki and Sawamura, the battery. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. Are these the two people that my assistant said were kind-hearted? Did I watch the fake game myself? Or did my assistant watch the fake game? Otherwise, how could our opinions be so different? This pair of battery on the field is obviously as cold-blooded as they come. Okay? To say that they are simple and have poor psychological endurance is a joke. 108. Chapter 108. The real ace 2 outs, no one on base. Even though Sawamura's pitching was average, Miyuki didn't seem to give Sawamura a sign. But people also noticed that something was wrong. 2 balls, 2 outs. This feels so weird in the dugout of the Hakuryu. Coach Sasaki held the stopwatch's hand, slightly pale. No, it feels very wrong. The next ball, don't swing the bat no matter what. Sasaki gave a sign to the batter Shindo on the field. In baseball, there are a lot of rhythms. One of them is that when the first 2 batters were both resolved by 1 ball, the batter who came on after the 2 outs should not be resolved by 1 ball anyway. It is better to get a strikeout than let the opponent solve the batter with 1 ball. This rhythm, if we really want to investigate it, can't be verified, but this rhythm does have its truth. Being solved by 1 ball in a row will make the attack of one's own side end very fast. At the same time, it is likely to fall into the rhythm of the other side. At this time, choosing to let go of the first ball, to a certain extent, can disrupt the pitching rhythm of the pitcher. Snap. Strike. In this way, on the first ball, Shindo didn't swing, and Sawamura and Miyuki scored 1 strike. Miyuki lifted his eyelids, glanced at Shindo, and gave Sawamura the first sign. The rest area of the Hakuryu High School. Director Sasaki's heart sank. Sure enough, the ominous feeling he had before was right. Miyuki and Sawamura's previous performances weren't affected at all. They just made the best of the situation, taking advantage of Hakuryu's aggressive attack, and wanted to get the number of eliminations as soon as possible. Right now, Shindo not swinging at the first ball, which can be regarded as disrupting the arrangement of Sawamura and Miyuki to a certain extent. Next, just look for a chance to swing. On the strike zone, Shindo also knew this, and his eyes were firmly fixed on Sawamura, as if he wanted to stare out a hole in Sawamura. Sawamura on the pitcher's mound was unmoved, and he didn't hesitate to throw the ball. The ball path is the low corner of the inside corner. Are you serious? Shindo knew in his heart that Sawamura, who had regained control of the ball, should have returned to his previous rhythm. After that, the ball will become more and more tricky. Sweet balls, strikes, or something, it's impossible to come here. Bring it on. Watch me hit out. Aiming at this tricky inside corner ball, Shindo swung decisively. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew into the gap in left field. This ball, Sakai did not stop this the first time, but he caught the ball before the first rebound point. Shindo hit first base and couldn't move on. After Sawamura came on the field, the first hit of the Hakuryu High School came. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura's eyes flashed a little surprise. In the position of a catcher, Miyuki's eyes are also quite intriguing. He didn't expect that the ball in the inner corner was swept away by the Hakuryu's batter. Originally, Miyuki and Sawamura, both considered Shindo, played a slow high-flying ball to the outfields. Miscalculated, it is because of the uninterrupted swing of the bat every day that he can hit such a tricky ball there. Miyuki shrugged his shoulders and gestured to Sawamura, who was helpless. The players of Hakuryu High School are worthy of being one of the top players in the nation. Their level is indeed incomparable to the previous opponents of Sidhu. Sawamura signaled that it was okay and ready to pitch. At this time, Shindo on the first base began to be unruly, and he quietly moved to the second base. The rest area of the Hakuryu High School. Sasaki gripped the stopwatch in his hand nervously. With Sawamura's pitch and Miyuki's restraint, the time between the two to restrain the stealing base was 3.28 seconds. Shindo's fastest time to steal second base was 3.25 seconds. Theoretically speaking, Miyuki and Sawamura's partners should not be able to stop Shindo's way of stealing bases. Don't be in a hurry, don't panic. There's no need to go to second base on purpose. Everything follows the normal rhythm. If he moves, you move with it. And if you have a chance, steal base. On this side, he gave the sign to Shindo, and on the other side, Sasaki also gave the sign to Hoshino, which was a batter. Play whenever you have a chance, regardless of the runners. It is not impossible to play and run. With a 2-point lead, we can use any risky attack to overwhelm Sidhu's defense. In the dugout of Sidhu, Kataoka shouted coldly, "Tamba, Kawakami, and Furuya, you three, take a good look at what Sawamura does when there are people on the base. This is a bit too embarrassing. Not to mention Furuya Satoru, Tampa, and Kawakami are both Sawamura's seniors." Kataoka said this, but also made a great decision. After speaking, he stopped talking. On the baseball field, the strong is the teacher. Although Sawamura is 2 years younger than Tampa, his performance on the mound can indeed be Tampa's teacher. Kataoka advised guidance. As for whether the three are willing to comprehend, and how much they can comprehend, it is up to them. On the field, Sawamura snorted and threw 2 pinning balls. On the first base, Shindo calmly resolved the crisis. He wasn't too far from the first base. Even if Sawamura wanted to kill him, it was impossible. Is it useless? Furuya muttered. Chris next to him shook his head. This is not useless. The purpose of Sawamura's restraint is not to solve the runner, but to prevent the runner from leaving too far from first base. At the same time, it can also test the runner's reaction and sees it's not about stealing bases on the next pitch. Now, Sawamura has tested out. Sawamura opened his stance to throw the ball, and Shindo on the first base rushed to the second base. There is a fundamental difference between someone on first base and someone on second base. If there is someone at second base, it is equivalent to entering the scoring circle. At the speed of the Hakuryu, with just one average hit, they might be able to get back to home plate. In the position of the catcher, there was a cruel smile on the corner of Miyuki's mouth. He suddenly stood up sideways, leaving his original squatting position. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura deliberately missed by almost a meter and just gave Miyuki, who stood up to catch the ball. Miyuki took the ball, raised his arms, and passed it to second base. Hi-ha! Kuramochi, who was originally restrained, has long since gotten carried away in the tense moment. After covering up the second base, he caught Miyuki's pass and smiled as he looked at Shindo, who was running over. Thank you for your hard work. Touch out. The rest area of the Hakuryu High School. Sasaki paused the stopwatch. 95 seconds. Sawamura's movements were quicker, and Miyuki saved a lot of time because he didn't have to stand up from squatting, but could pass the ball directly. The cooperation between the two was faster than before, a full 0.3 seconds. At 0.3 seconds, the result was out. 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. Beautiful work, as expected of Miyuki. Containment, full score. The players of the second string and the third string applauded Miyuki, who solved the runner. In the dugout of the Hakuryu, Sasaki's face was ugly to death. Not just the catcher, but the pitcher as well. Sawamura knew that he was going to steal bases on the first pitch before Shindo stole the base. What a horrible guy. 109. Chapter 109. Troublesome 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. Sawamura seems to have won 3 outs very easily. But in fact, these 3 outs are not so easy. To get these 3 outs, Sawamura deliberately used the moving ball. Aggressive batters, while scary looking, are not that hard to deal with. Whether Miyuki or Sawamura, once they understand the batter's intention to swing the bat, there are ways to deal with them. Just like just now, Sawamura used 2 moving balls successively to solve the 8th and 9th batters of the Hakuryu High School. Originally, he wanted to use another moving ball to solve Shindo. It's a pity that Shindo didn't swing at the first ball, so Sawamura and Miyuki didn't dare to throw it too much. Sawamura's moving ball doesn't break until the batter's hand. If the batter hits the ball directly, no one, including the batter, will feel the break in the moving ball. The batter standing on the strike zone would at best think that he missed the center of the ball. But when the ball is pitched, the ball breaks a lot in the batter's hand to the catcher's glove. It was Miyuki's superb catching skills that he managed to fool the batters. But no matter how superb Miyuki's catching skills are, this is not a long-term solution. Once the moving ball is used a lot, some people with good vision can still see the characteristics of the moving ball. In middle school, Sawamura didn't fully reveal his moving ball. At most, he only used it as some fishing balls. So for high school teams, Sawamura's moving ball can still be used as a secret weapon, even if they have studied Sawamura's middle school game video before. To avoid exposing the moving balls, Sawamura and Miyuki adopted the strategy of fishing for the second ball with Shindo. He didn't expect Shindo's swing to be so good. He originally intended to induce him to hit a slow, high-flying ball, but he hit a hard hit. This may be the only flaw when he just pitched the ball. In the second half of the fourth inning, Seto High School attacked. Sawamura was the first to stand in the strike zone. Holding the bat in his hand, Sawamura turned his eyes to the mound. The way he prepares to swing is very relaxed and natural. It's really uncomfortable. Takehara frowned secretly as he looked at Sawamura like this. Sawamura, dong dong dong. Fight out. In the stands, the fans of the Brotherhood of Red Hearts and the Demon King's Guard were again leading the cheers to shout and cheer. In such an atmosphere, Takehara, who was in the position of the catcher, was even more upset. One annoying guy. According to the general anime plot routine, with such a loud cheering voice, aren't they all characters who were defeated before? In anime, there is that logic that when the protagonist defeats an enemy, they become friends and then become his audience and cheer on him in his next battles. Sawamura is not, whether it's the data collected before or the match just now. Sawamura used his performance to prove his strength. Even Takehara, who was unhappy with him, had to admit that Sawamura, who was standing in the strike zone, was an extremely difficult batter. Aggressively attack. Get rid of him. Don't let the first-year kid show off his power here. In the rest area of the Hakuryu High School, there was a sudden loud cheering sound. Takehara, who was disturbed by Sawamura's influence, calmed down immediately. Yes, why did I get confused and was led by the nose? We're the ones throwing the ball. Just keep attacking aggressively. Whether it is against Yuki or Sawamura, besides aggressively attacking, what other strategies can they have? If they hadn't pitched with the determination to solve the batter, it would be difficult for them to stop these two guys. Thanks, coach. In his mind, he thanked Coach Sasaki, and Takehara gave Miyano the ball. Strike. Ball. Ping. For 2 consecutive balls, Sawamura didn't swing. Then there was an unspecified by the edge pitch. Sawamura swung decisively, and the ball flew out of bounds. 2 strikes, 2 balls. When playing against the battery in the first inning, exactly the same ball count. Only this time, there was no one on the base. Bring it on. Sawamura took a step back and moved out of the inner corner, then put on a pose waiting for the ball. This stance again. Although Sawamura's current form is different from the one used in the first inning. But in general, it's just a change of soup instead of medicine. Through his actions, he influences the thoughts of the pitcher and the catcher, allowing the pitcher and the catcher to throw the ball of his choice with a higher probability. Either the inside corner or the outside corner, Sawamura must have chosen a course. It's just that Takehara and Miyano, who were prepared this time, were not fooled. Ping! Sawamura hit the ball again, but he obviously chose the wrong course and didn't hit the ball well. Snap! The ball landed in front of the second baseman and was caught directly. Out! 1 out, no one hits base. 6th, third baseman Seco. Ball! Strike! Ping! Foul! 2 strikes, 1 ball, the batter is chased. Whoosh! Without much hesitation, Miyano threw the ball directly. Yuga! With a roar, Seco decisively swung the batter. This ball, Seco aimed very accurately. If the ball path does not change, Seco even has the confidence to hit a long hit or even a home run. But the break came, and when the ball was close to Seco, it suddenly sank. Ping! Seco reluctantly relied on his own powerful swing and forcibly squeezed the ball out. It was just that the ball sank suddenly, and Seco didn't play well either. He only swept over the baseball, which bounced in the infield and landed in the hands of the pitcher Miyano. Out. 2 outs, no one on base. 7th batter, catcher Miyuki. Ping. Miyuki, who is good at guessing the opponent's ball, swings the bat decisively in the face of the first ball. After the white ball was hit, it flew erratically, close, and slow. Such a ball is naturally hard to resist for the fielder of the Hakuryu High School. Snap! The fielder opened his glove and picked the ball in the air into his glove. Out. 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. The rest area of Seto High School. Miyuki was the last one to hit the field and the last one to come back out of all the players in Seto High School. You did play beautifully. Look at this ball. It flew accurately into the fielder's glove. Kuramochi said with a smile. A person who was dealt with twice in a row and didn't get on base once. Who has the right to speak of me? Miyuki retorted rudely. Next to him, Sawamura frowned and looked at the rest area of the Hakuryu High School. This game is really troublesome. The score is now 4-2, and Seto High School is 2 points behind. It can be seen from Miyano's pitching before. It is not easy for the players of Seto High School to get consecutive hits from his hands and even to recover points. 110, Chapter 110. Against Mima in the final of the Kanto tournament. Seto High School played against Hakuryu High School. The changes in the game situation can be described as ups and downs. First, the Hakuryu High School scored in the first inning and went to the next inning, and then Seto, not to be outdone, directly overtook them in the second inning. In the third inning, Hakuryu High School relied on Mima's 3-run homer to overtake Seto again. After being overtaken, Seto sent first-year pitcher Sawamura to the pitching mound. Sawamura turned the tide with fine pitching, blocking the Hakuryu's bombardment and scoring streak. Seto's defense finally stabilized. After stabilizing the situation, the serious problems faced by Seto High School were also placed in front of them. That is, they are now 2 points behind their opponents. Hakuryu's pitcher and defense showed extraordinary fighting spirit, and it was not easy for Seto to take 2 points from them. It's like two gamblers betting against each other. Seto's own cards have the upper hand, but Seto's bet is less than that of Hakuryu in the uncapped gambling game. It is natural to suffer a loss if the capital is small. At this time, if we want to win, you need to get the number of eliminations more simply and neatly. In the first half of the 5th inning, Hakuryu attacked. It was their turn to hit their core batters, Mima, Takehara, and Kitawi. The third batter, center Mima-kun. Hakuryu's first batter in this game is Mima. In the position of the catcher, Miyuki was in a bit of a dilemma. With the speed of Mima, there's also the possibility of him directly bunting and stealing bases. What made him feel powerless the most was that he knew there was such a possibility, but there was nothing he could do about it. Facing Mima, Miyuki didn't dare to let the fielders go forward to defend. Mima is not only fast, but his swings are also very scary. If there is a loophole in the defense, it is likely to be targeted by him. Hakuryu High School really gathers various types of batters. Miyuki sighed. In fact, it was more than the Hakuryu High School. Seto, who hadn't made it to Koshien for 5 consecutive years, was the same, gathering all kinds of talented players. The powerhouses should be like this. Okay, let's go. No matter what difficulties lie ahead, Miyuki never backed down. This time, too, although he felt troublesome, he was still confident in solving the problem. Mima is good, and Sawamura is not weak either. Miyuki and Sawamura were thinking about how to deal with Mima, and Mima's eyes were also fixed on Sawamura, the famous Demon King. Finally, I can confront you head-on. Then let me experience it. What kind of strength do you have, Demon-kun? Mima's eyes were so fiery that it seemed like he could burn Sawamura through. It's scary. Sawamura, who was standing on the pitcher's mound, suddenly had a feeling of joy and blood pumping all over his body. This feeling was long gone for him. Mima Soichiro. So, you can already bring me such pressure? Exciting, so exciting. In Sawamura's previous life, although Mima did not stay in the major leagues for long, his performance in professional baseball was very good, and it is said that he broke the hitting record of Ichiro Suzuki. Because he was not in the same leagues, Sawamura didn't have much interaction with Mima, and he had limited knowledge of his previous life strengths. However, the current Mima, the strength is still not bad. The pressure that his every move brought to Sawamura made Sawamura feel goosebumps. Interesting, really interesting. Then let me see your swing. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura changed his inattentive, dazed state before, and his whole being was like a treasured sword that was about to be unsheathed. In the position of the catcher, Miyuki glanced at Sawamura in surprise. This is not the same as what they had negotiated before. The feeling that Sawamura exudes seems to have no intention of using fishing balls and moving balls. He wants to decide the outcome head-on and defeat Mima Soichiro head-on. In Sidhu's rest area, Chris raised his eyebrows in surprise. Sawamura's feeling is not quite right. In the catcher's position, Miyuki let out a sigh of relief. To fight head-on, exciting. Since the desire to fight is so strong in you too, then you must win. If we lose, the coach won't spare us. The first ball, Cutter's ball in the inner corner. Sawamura on the pitcher's mound actually didn't say a word. Miyuki knew in his heart that Sawamura was thinking at this time. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura saw Miyuki match the ball according to his own wishes. Bring it on. The right foot was raised high and then slashed down like a battle axe. With this force, Sawamura's body's center of gravity shifted, and the glove on his right hand was like a wall, covering it in front of him. By the way, it pushed away all the resistance in front. The arm of the left hand swung like a whip, and the two fingers hooked the ball tightly and threw the ball out. Whoosh! The small white ball, like a laser beam, travels the distance from the pitcher to the top of the plate. Mima in the strike zone was subconsciously shocked when he saw Sawamura's pitching form. Sure enough, just like what Katawi said, his pitching form hides the ball's starting point completely. But it doesn't matter, I can still swing the bat. When the ball entered his hand, Mima directly swung the bat. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew out of bounds. Foul! 1 strikes, 0 ball. A foul is equivalent to a strike, but not the third strike. Although the number of strike was 1 ahead, Miyuki's face was not relaxed, and there was even a hint of surprise in his eyes. Seeing Sawamura's pitching for the first time, Mima actually could still hit. This guy is really hard to deal with. Miyuki pondered for a while and gave Sawamura a sign. On the strike zone, Mima held the bat with one hand, as if to pay tribute, and looked at Sawamura through the bat as if it was deliberately aiming. Then the bat slid in a circle and returned to his hands. Imitating Ichiro, Mima's swing is really extraordinary. It's the first time I've seen a batter who can hit Sawamura's pitch from the first pitch. Really great. The audience in the stands couldn't help being attracted by the wonderful duel on the field. On the strike zone, Mima immersed herself in the joy of fighting against Sawamura. He is a man who will not admit defeat. In middle school, they had never fought, but he was suppressed by Sawamura. How could Mima accept it? Hit it off. Hit it off. In Mima's mind now, there is nothing but this thought. In this case, Sawamura's second pitch came. Change up. On the strike zone, Mima stared at the ball thrown by Sawamura without blinking. Sawamura's middle school's decisive ball, change up. This kind of ball has appeared in Mima's mind many times, and he has done countless imagining exercises against Sawamura's changeup. Countless preparations just for this moment. At this moment, the long-awaited ball came. Hit it. Waiting for the ball to enter his hand, Mima decisively swings the bat. Oh, 111. Chapter 111. Lead the team by pitching. He swung the bat so fast that he caught up with the flying baseball in the blink of an eye and swept the baseball away violently. Ping! The white ball flies off the sideline. Foul! With 2 consecutive fouls, Sawamura and Miyuki have taken the lead with 2 strikes. But there was no smile on their faces. Cutter and changeup balls were swept away in succession. With the slight angle break and the huge ball speed difference, Mima turned out to be in good condition and kept up with Sawamura's pitching. This is amazing. Miyuki felt like he could hear his heart beating, very rhythmically and powerfully. 2 pitches. No need for more. Miyuki has already seen a lot of things. Mima must have excellent dynamic vision, as well as flexible and powerful batting skills. At the same time, his swing speed is also very fast, and he is very focused when he is swinging. In conclusion, Mima is very strong. No wonder it was no trivial matter to be able to hit Tampa Senpai's winning shot. Partner, our challenge is coming. At a time like this, don't be a coward. On the mound, Sawamura's body naturally showed a calm momentum. Mima's stunning swing did not have any impact on Sawamura. 2 strikes, 0 ball. According to general common sense, at this time, we should make good use of the 3-ball space we have. With Sawamura's current momentum, it's really not wise for him to use balls. Then go head-to-head. Mima's dynamic vision and accelerated swing versus the decisive ball of Sawamura. Who wins and who loses? Come on, I have faith in you, mate. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura nodded slightly when he saw Miyuki's signal for the 3rd pitch. Taking a deep breath, Sawamura adjusted his state to the best. The more sharp the moment, the more careful the pitching. It doesn't matter if you make 10 mistakes in normal times, but at the wrong moment, if you make a single mistake, you may be doomed. Raise your legs and move your weight. Whoosh! The baseball in Sawamura's hand flew out. Fast, incredibly fast. On the strike zone, Mima couldn't help but admire Sawamura's pitching. Such a clean, straight pitch. Clean, pure, straight, as if drawn with a ruler. With his hands tightly gripped on the bat, Mima used his body to feel the timing of the swing. Wait a minute, the ball is faster than he thought. Especially when entering the hand, it seems to accelerate. But he clearly didn't feel the difference between this ball and an ordinary straight ball before. Form and ball speed, including the spin, are identical to straight balls. Why? No one can answer Mima for the confusion in his mind. Now he doesn't care to think about it anymore. He can only swing the bat in a hurry. Can you get it in time? Snap! The ball flew into Miyuki's glove, and Mima was just halfway through the swing. At this moment, the scene seems to be frozen. The audience stared at Mima, who was stunned. Strike! Batter out! The referee who witnessed this wonderful duel with his own eyes was basically roaring and trembling when he announced the result. These kids are amazing. That's true for batter, and even more so for pitcher. Mima was struck out. The players and coaches of the Hakuryu High School were all dumbfounded. Mima was struck out by someone? Mima was struck out swinging. Mima's swing was too late. They feel that their worldview is about to be overturned. Mima used to practice swinging against a 155 kilometers pitching machine before, and his swing speed could keep up with that ball's speed. How could he be late to swing the bat against Sawamura's ball, and was so late at that? Sawamura, Demon King, Demon King. Sawamura's exclusive fan clubs were roaring like crazy. In the stands, the professional scout turned his head to look at the brotherhood of Red Heart and Demon King guards. What he saw in his eyes were not people, but money symbols dollar one by one. Money, these are all money. Not only skills, strength, but even the ability to attract money. Sawamura is just a complete package. If I can sign him, definitely 1 out, no one on base. When Mima returned to the rest area, there was still confusion in his eyes. 4th catcher, take Hurricane. Strike, 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 batter out. Ordinary inside corner ball. Seduce Takehara to miss the swing. Then use the cutter ball to let Takehara miss the 2nd swing. The last ball was a changeup. Everyone saw Takehara's bat was constantly waving, but nothing was touched. Sawamura played Takehara, just like playing a child. When Sawamura faced off against the 3rd-year senior, Miyuki and Chris concluded. Facing Sawamura's ball for the first time, it was difficult to hit his ball out. If you don't have enough data to support, don't have enough mental preparation, and don't adapt, you're not qualified to hit Sawamura at all. Takehara looked shocked, but to Miyuki, it was not surprising. On the contrary, Mima, who saw Sawamura's pitching for the first time and followed Sawamura's pitching, surprised him even more. 2 outs, no one on base. 5th, first baseman, Katawikan. The lineup rotated, and this is Katawi's 2nd time that he will face off against Sawamura. He was mentally prepared enough to hit the strike zone. I will never let the attack end like this. Holding the bat tightly in both hands, Katawi looked aggressively at Sawamura on the mound. Very scary. Sawamura cocked the corners of his mouth with a smirk. The catcher, Miyuki, gave Sawamura a sign. Sawamura nodded slightly. Then, at Miyuki's request, he threw a ball. Whoosh! A small white ball flew out. On the strike zone, the corners of Katawi's mouth were tightly pursed, and he stared intently at the ball thrown by Sawamura. The ball is on the top of the center. It's a fishing ball. To put it bluntly, It is the path of the ball that seduces the batter. We swing the bat? In Katawi's mind, in a fraction of a second, a battle between heaven and earth passed. In the end, he decided to swing. Fishing ball, as the name suggests, is the same as fishing, but since you want to fish, you must have bait, right? This sweet ball is the bait. If the swing is not thorough, it will definitely be caught by the guard and block the batter. But there is another possibility. If you swing the bat thoroughly, it is also possible to sweep the ball out by brute force. Smash it out. In an instant, Katawi used all the strength to swing, and the bat in his hand roared out. Even if it just rubs against the ball, he has to sweep it out. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew high from the home plate. The face of Katawi was as gray as if he had seen a ghost. When the ball entered his hand, it floated up. Let him only hit the lower part of the baseball. At the catcher's position, Miyuki opened his glove and confiscated the ball in his glove. Out. 3 outs, offense, and defense exchange. Hakuryu High School, the core 3 strong batters, Mima, Takehara, and Katawi. 3 up and 3 down. At this moment, all the light in the audience shrouded Sawamura and Miyuki. Without the help of the fielders, they tackled the core lineup of the top powerhouse Hakuryu High School head-on. 112. Chapter 112. Only the attack is left. Sawamura showed an unparalleled presence on the mound. He used practical actions to tell Sita's players not to worry about pitching, and he would not let Hakuryu High School get even one more point. Then our task is simple. We only need to attack to recover the lead. Kuramochi shook his shoulders, eagerly preparing for the attack. On the other side, the rest area of Hakuryu High School. Sasaki frowned and looked at Sidu's rest area, especially at Sawamura, who was sitting on a rest chair as if he was about to fall asleep. To be honest, it wasn't long before he took over the responsibility of superintendent of Hakuryu, but in this short time, he also followed Hakuryu to meet a lot of powerful people. In this country, there are countless great players among high school students. A daunting batter, a terrifying pitcher with a ball speed approaching 150 kilometers per hour. After all, there are all kinds of things. Some players, even when compared to professional baseball players, are not necessarily inferior. But no matter how powerful they are ultimately flawed. They were all high school students after all. During Sasaki's time as a superintendent, he had never seen a pitcher like Sawamura, not only strong, but most terrifyingly stable and comprehensive. In addition to his physical fitness, Sawamura has absolutely no trace of a young student. He is like a professional ace who has experienced many battles. No matter when he shows his strength very calmly. The ability to understand the game, this ability, even for a pitcher on a professional field, is the most important thing. Unless his luck is really bad, Sasaki himself has a hard time imagining Sawamura losing points. I have to say, Coach Karaoka, you really picked up a big treasure. When Sasaki opened the lid of the stopwatch and turned to face his students, he had regained his calm and composed look. To be honest, I'm afraid it will be difficult to get consecutive hits and score from Sawamura-kun. Sasaki did not hide this fact. On the contrary, he stated it bluntly. It doesn't matter. We and Sidu are not in the same competition area. Before Koshien, we will not play against each other. In this case, we just need to think about this game. Now we are still 2 points ahead. Make good use of these 2 points as long as we don't let Sidu score. The scale of victory will definitely be tilted in our favor. As for Sidu and Sawamura, let the West Tokyo teams have this headache. Miyano, it's up to you. After Sasaki finished speaking, all the players of the Hakuryu High School looked at Miyano Kagami. Don't. I can't bear such a lot of pressure. Miyano, shaking his head like a rattle, refuses to accept Sasaki's praise and trust. His own ace, at a critical time, was like this. It really made Hakuryu's little players smile bitterly. Sasaki was even more embarrassed. He finally mustered up the courage to say a few words to boost morale. Watching everyone focus their attention on him, Miyano raised his hand in surrender. I try my best. But Sidu's lineup is very strong, and I can't guarantee that the ball will not be hit, Miyano said sullenly. After he finished speaking, the expression of the hippie smile on his face disappeared, and he became serious. If I can't hold it, the defense behind me will be up to you. In the second half of the fifth inning, Seco attacked. The reason why Kuramochi is positive is because this blow is just in his turn. Out! Out! Sakai and Shiratsu are out. They also worked hard. Shiratsu hit the ball into the neutral position and was stopped by the shortstop of Hakuryu High School in cooperation with the third baseman who had just entered the field. Sakai played a high to the outfield and was picked up in the stands. This is our Hakuryu's mobile fielders. You still want to catch up with us? Dream on. These 2 points are Seco's funeral points. The audience who supported Hakuryu began to make noise. The pressure brought by Sawamura's pitching was so great that these spectators couldn't remain calm. It's so noisy. Kuramochi pouted and went to the strike zone. 2 outs, no one on base. It's really not a good situation for him. However, if he can get a base, he will never give up. No matter what, you have to get a hit first and connect to Sawamura and Tetsu-san. Bring it on. The bat in his hand was raised, and Kuramochi made a normal stance. Are you going to strike normally? In the position of the catcher, Takehara felt a little relieved. Although Kuramochi has not made any achievements so far, his speed is really scary. It would be ideal if Kuramochi could choose to strike normally. However, it is no wonder that the previous 2 stealing bases failed. Kuramochi's defense against the Hakuryu should be very apprehensive, right? Takehara chuckled and gave Miyano a sign. On the pitcher's mound, Miyano nodded and pitched the ball. Whoosh! It wasn't until the ball was released that Kuramochi changed his stance. Do you think that after 2 times, this uncle will not dare to bunt? Too naive. The uncle is Kuramochi Yoichi. Those who retreat after 1 failure are cowards. Those who retreat after 2 failures are self-proclaimed smart people. And those who dare to continue to persevere after 2 failures are geniuses. Idiots, I am a genius. Super genius. After the ball was knocked out, Kuramochi flew to first base. The third baseman, who was just replaced, was very puzzled. This guy's bunts aren't that good. Are you giving us an easy out? He went up to pick up the ball, then passed to first base. When he turned his head, he was scared shitless. What is that? Kuramochi had already run a dozen meters, and he was only a few meters away from first base. He hurriedly raised his arm to pass the ball. In a hurry, he passed the ball a little too far. When Katawi caught the ball, it was a little off, and his foot left the first base bag. At the same time, Kuramochi stomped the first base with 1 foot. Safe. 2 outs, runner at first base. At this time, Hakuryu made a mistake. Hi-ha! Kuramochi laughs loudly, very happy with his success. Seco's rest area. Kataoka grunted coldly from his nose. This idiot. Miyuki smiled wryly. This guy is too reckless. Sawamura heard that Miyuki was inciting others on Kuramochi. As a kohai in the same dormitory, how could he not save his senpai? Otherwise, it will leave a bad impression in the superintendent's mind. It is conceivable that Kataoka will definitely make Kuramochi into a meal of fried pork with bamboo shoots. He was aiming for a bunt on the third base, and the third baseman just came on the field and hasn't adapted to the rhythm of the game. It's not an accident that the fielder will make mistakes. Sawamura defended Kuramochi in vain. Miyuki looked at the kind-hearted Sawamura in horror. This guy is too bad. After 2 outs, Kataoka gave no instructions to Kuramochi. It means letting him figure it out and choose the best method to hit a base. Kuramochi can strike and of course strike, as long as he thinks that's the best way to get to base at the time. Miyuki's superficial criticism was actually regarded as Kuramochi's explanation and defense. On the other hand, Sawamura was the exact opposite. He seemed to defend Kuramochi, but in fact, he was pushing him into the mud, betting on the mistakes of the Hakuryu players. But this defense has touched the bottom line of Kataoka. Sure enough, hearing Sawamura's words, Kataoka's face sank. Sawamura looked innocent. 113, Chapter 113, Devil Brother. Rising with 2 outs, Kuramochi went to first base. Second batter, second baseman Kaminato-kun, seeing the figure walking into the strike zone, smiling and harmless to humans and animals, Takehara felt extremely painful in his head. Seco High School really gathers all kinds of talents. Take Seco, the second baseman, for example. No need to mention the fielding skills. Takehara had never seen a second baseman with such a wide fielding range before. The area where Kaminado Ryosuke was in charge of defending seemed to have no loopholes. And his batting looks like he also made it to a new dimension, a new height. Batters could be divided into strong batters, such as Yuki Tetsuya and their team's Mima, which are all strong batters. There is no shortage of swinging power and skills, and on the strike zone, they show an extraordinary sense of presence. Under the strong batters, good batters can also be divided into power type and skill type. The power type is like Sidhu's sixth batter Masuko and Takehara himself. The most skillful batters like Sawamura, Miyuki, and Chris in terms of subdivisions. There are many more to say. But in general, good batters are nothing more than these types. And Kaminado Ryosuke is different from these people. His swings were like glue sticking to people's hands, making people uncomfortable to no end. Please take care of me. Taking off his hat, Kaminado Ryosuke politely greeted the referee and opponent. When saying hello, he also bent over, and after bending over, his eyes just stared at Takehara's eyes. Those eyes were originally small, but Takehara saw it very clearly. Really seems to be able to read the words conveyed with his look. Let's have a lot of fun together. In the case of 2 outs, is it possible that this guy still dares to use the previous entanglement batting like before? He dares. For no reason. Takehara had this hunch that Kaminado Ryosuke must have that kind of confidence, or that he would definitely be able to do it. We're in trouble. Takehara's heart is aching, like he is facing a crisis. 2 out. 1 more out. Continue. The voice of cheering came from the defense, and everyone's voice was very loud. The catcher, Takehara, also calmed down. 1 more out left. Now, they also have nothing to back down, only going ahead. First ball, just when Takehara and the pitcher were all focused on the batter, the first base's Kurimochi moved, and he immediately left the first base from a distance, ready to run to second base. So far, Mayano on the pitcher mound looked at Kurimochi angrily. Even if they didn't intend to ignore the runners, aren't you too far from the base? If he couldn't bear it, he didn't need to bear it any longer. He threw the ball to contain him. Just as he raised his arm, Kurimochi threw himself on the base bag like a beast of prey. Safe. Here Kitawi just passed the ball back to Mayano, and Kurimochi has returned to the position where he was waiting for the steal. It's still far away, and the location is a bit dazzling. In such a position, if he ignores it, even if he throws the ball to Takehara, it will be difficult for Takehara to contain him. Mayano thought about throwing another pinning ball. Leave him alone and focus on the batter. At this time, the voice of Coach Sasaki suddenly came from the dugout of the Hakuryu High School. Mayano obviously put too much energy on runners. In this way, it allowed the attackers to take advantage. With 2 outs now, the runner wants to steal the bases, so let him run. Most importantly, get rid of the batters. On the pitcher's mound, Mayano was shocked. Yeah, the most important thing is to get rid of the batter. His eyes became firm. The runner can run if he wants to. He doesn't care. Mayano turned to deal with Kaminado Ryosuke, and Kurimochi was a little disinterested here. However, when it comes to stealing bases, he will not be soft-footed. Snap. Strike. On the first ball, Kaminado Ryosuke didn't swing and let it go. Kurimochi took this opportunity and stole second base. Takehara didn't even look at the second base. The other party had obviously made up his mind and wanted to fight to the end with Ryosuke. Kurimochi had a clue in his mind, and without hesitation, he left the bag of second base and moved to third base. Sidhu's principle is to actively aim for the next base. Moreover, the batter is Ryo-san, and it is not impossible to choose the 4-ball. There's no harm in advancing to the next base early. And as far as Kurimochi himself is concerned, the other party has already delivered the meat generously. How can he be reconciled if he doesn't take a bite? Although the second base is in the scoring spot, the second base is always the second base, and there's a third base there. Right now, neither the pitcher nor the catcher was staring at Kurimochi as if he was determined to go head-to-head with the batter. Then, why would he have any reason to hesitate? Watching the pitcher throwing the pitch, Kurimochi ran to third base. At this time, he saw the third base running instructor and gave him a cross, which meant that he could not steal bases. Kuramochi didn't ask and hurried back to second base. At about the same time as him, a containment ball went to second base. Safe. In the position of the catcher, Takehara looked cold. Kuramochi broke out in a cold sweat and looked at the field in confusion, not understanding what was going on. Pull the camera back for a few seconds. When Kuramochi was about to steal the third base, Takehara stepped out and stood up at the same time. He actually learned the trick now, imitating the cooperation of Sawamura and Miyuki, ready to solve Kuramochi. However, Sidhu's base running instructor has a good vision. When he saw Takehara stand up, he immediately signaled Kuramochi to return to second base. Kuramochi is also obedient, otherwise, the hit he finally won would be wasted. Really impressive. Kuramochi looked at Takehara and Miyano on the pitcher's mound with dissatisfaction. Unexpectedly, the battery of Hakuryu High School, at such a critical moment in the game, is still learning, taking bold risks. The rest area of the Hakuryu High School. Sasaki closed the stopwatch lid, then opened it again several times. How can you win against a giant like Sidhu without taking risks? It doesn't matter if you take risks. The most important thing is to firmly grasp the situation in your own hands. The game continues. On the strike zone, Ryosuke's face darkened. So concerned about runners. Do you underestimate me too much? Am I such a batter? Whoosh! Miyano pitched to the low inside corner. After the ball entered the corner, it sank to the side. It's a very tricky ball. Facing this tricky ball, Kaminato Ryosuke stepped forward, lowered the center of gravity of his entire body, and then swung the bat to hit the ball. Although I'm very unwilling, my height has never grown. To make up for this shortcoming and compete for the starting position, do you know what I've gone through? When playing, I will never lose to anyone. The sweat of Kaminato's training combined exceeds his current limit. This is the origin of this devil brother. Ping! The tricky ball was hit by Kaminato Ryosuke accurately and flew to the gap between the shortstop and the pitcher. The shortstop jumped, but couldn't stop the ball and went into the outfield. 114. Chapter 114. I'm not a Spitz. Good chance. The ball hit the outfield, and Kuramochi seized the opportunity and sprinted toward third base. At the same time, Kaminato Ryosuke went to first base. When he was about to reach third base, Kuramochi's eyes never took his eyes off the base instructor. If he turned around, it would be too much time-consuming. So now, he needed the help of the base running instructor. Little did he know that the base running instructor right now also had a fight between heaven and earth in his mind. The position where the outfielder picks up the ball is more than 60 meters and less than 70 meters. From this distance alone, returning to home plate should be a close call. But the one who rushed over to catch the ball was Mima Soichiro. Mima's arm strength is terrifying. Do we proceed now? The pressure is high right now on the base running instructor. One of his decisions is likely to directly change the development of the game. No matter how fast Kuramochi was, he ran to third base in just over 3 seconds. The reaction time left for the running director is even shorter. Everyone's chances are the same. Even if it is Isashiki's turn to play next in the line, Sidhu may not have a better chance. There is no reason to back down now. As long as there is hope, never back down. At this critical moment, the attacking tradition of Sidhu came into play. Whenever possible, aggressively target the next base. With a determined heart, the base running instructor gave Kuramochi instructions to move on. Run! Kuramochi, who was instructed, stepped on the third base bag with 1 foot, crossed his feet as if an accelerator was installed, and ran to the home plate at high speed. In the stands, going straight to home plate, Kobayashi, one of the leaders of the Brotherhood of Red Hearts fan club, was surprised. Their impression of Kuramochi was actually not that good. It felt like this guy had been bullying the polite Sawamura. They didn't expect the critical moment to be so tense. They grew up with Akagi, and they didn't hate this kind of desperate spirit to score. If the weak Akagi in the first 2 years did not have this spirit, it would be difficult for them to go far. Obayashi nodded. He's a man. Kuramochi, who was considered a man by Obayashi, went nonstop along the way. In the outfield position, Mima swung his arms and passed the ball directly to home plate. Snap! The 60-meter, super-long pass flew over like a laser beam. Takehara, who caught the ball, could even feel the amazing power that came from baseball. As expected of Mima, with a sigh of admiration in his heart, Takehara held the mitt and pressed it towards Kuramochi, who was flying towards him. Two people in rapid motion passed each other. The referee at home plate raised his hand and shouted, "Out!" The catcher, Takehara, had a strange expression. Kuramochi hammered the ground angrily. A little bit. The wonderful offense that ends here. The total score remains 4-2. It is not easy for Sidu to get a point. What a pity. Even the commentators couldn't help but feel sorry for Sidu. He didn't expect Sidu to make such a wonderful attack. Kuramochi went back to the rest area. Kaminado Ryosuke also returned from first base, and when he was on his way back, he happened to see the face of Takehara, the catcher of the Hakuryu High School. Takehara's expression was a little strange, as if something was wrong and no one found out. There is this unease flowing in his mind. Kaminado Ryosuke froze for a moment in his mind, and a wicked smile appeared on his face. The two of them walked close, and Kaminado Ryosuke muttered in a low voice. Takehara's face changed drastically. Ryosuke understood and smiled slightly. He walked past Takehara, stretched out his palm, and shook it disdainfully, without waiting for Takehara's reply. The game continues. In the first half of the sixth inning, Hakuryu High School attacked. Ping! Out! Swing the bat on the first ball, and out on the first ball. The ball rebounded to the second baseman's zone. Ryosuke caught the ball and passed it to first base. Strike! Strike, batter out! After finishing the sixth, Sawamura struck out Miyano again to take the opportunity to dent his morale. 2 outs, no one on base. It may be that Miyano swung the bat continuously and missed consecutively, which affected the eighth batter's swing. His swing was shaky and not sharp. On the first ball, he did not swing, and on the second ball, even tried to use a bunt, but the bunt failed. After taking the lead by 2 strikes, Sawamura threw the decisive straight fastball, which caused the batter to miss the opportunity to swing and was struck out. Swinging strikeout. In just a few minutes, the players of the Hakuryu High School went 3 up and 3 down. Hakuryu's rest area. Sasaki closed his eyes in despair. Sure enough, just as he thought, even if it is the second time to face Sawamura, it is still difficult to hit his pitch without special practice in advance. Damn, Yokohama and the others have fought against Sidu before, so why has no one said anything about Sawamura's information? If we knew that Sawamura had that peculiar pitching form, they could have done some training. For example, push the pitching machine 2 meters forward during practice. Now, there is no hope. If it is like this, the defense cannot be neglected. The players of the Hakuryu, who had just stepped down from their defensive positions, felt that they hadn't rested for enough time, so they took a breath and were about to go to the field again. It feels like being led by the nose. In the second half of the sixth inning, Sidu attacked. Third batter, center Isashiki-kun. At this time, it was Sidu's core lineup's turn to play. Please take care of me. After greeting the referee very politely, Isashiki Jun turned to look at Miyano on the pitcher's mound. Come on, boy, watch me blow you away. Hearing Isashiki Jun's roar, the audience in the auditorium felt that they could no longer be silent. Roar spits. It's up to you. Even if you yell, it doesn't matter. You must hit it away. Fight out, fight out. Isashiki Jun's face was ugly. I'm out of spits. In the position of the catcher, Takehara gave Miyano a sign. The first ball, the inside corner, a ball that goes straight to the batter's chest. This batter can swing even on tricky pitches, so you might as well scare him. On the mound, Miyano nodded. Whoosh. The baseball roared out and flew toward Isashiki's chest. At this angle, the average batter can't swing the bat. But Isashiki is not an ordinary batter. Go to hell. The bat in his hand, like a machete, was held in Isashiki's hand, and he slashed horizontally. Ping! The ball that was chopped out fell into the gap, guarded by the Hakuryu fielders, forming a hit. Isashiki took this opportunity to hit first base. In the position of the catcher, Takehara felt a momentary blank in his brain. So he hit it out. It's so unrealistic. If it weren't for his eyelids, his eyeballs would fly out. Can you hit this kind of ball? Sawamura, Yuki, Miyuki, Kaminado, and there is also this Isashiki guy. Seedoo really has all kinds of talents. No outs, runner at first base. Seedoo's batter, it's time for the fourth batter. The fourth batter, the super strong swing, Yuki Tetsuya. The Yuki Tetsuya who disabled the original third baseman of the Hakuryu High School. 115, Chapter 115. Start a fight back if it weren't for the no out right now. If it wasn't for the runner at the first base right now. Takehara, or rather Hakuryu High School, didn't want to go head-to-head with Yuki Tetsuya. Even in Seedoo High School, where all kinds of talented batters gather, Yuki Tetsuya is extremely special. He is not like a normal batter. He likes to be greedy, and he is always aiming for a home run. He's also not like the average batter who likes to play tricks with the battery. Standing in the strike zone, he was simply scary. He would just hit any ball that flew over. Indifferent to balls, never let go of strikes. Once the bat swings like thunder, it doesn't give the opponent time and opportunity to react at all. Just looking at the home run record, Tetsuya is not necessarily amazing, and even in the strong batters of the Giants, he is considered to be at the bottom. But this is the fourth batter that doesn't seem to like being in the limelight, but they have a shocking swing. Especially when there are people on the base, the consistency of the hits is even more intimidating. Speaking of which, in Seedoo High School, there are quite a few batters with this feature. Once there is someone on the base, it is like they're being possessed, and their bat becomes a ball magnet. Yuki Tetsuya, the fourth batter, counts as one, and the fifth batter, Sawamura, is also like that. The most prominent is Miyuki, who is the seventh batter. Once there's a runner on base, he becomes like an ancient hero on the battlefield. Facing such an opponent, Takehara was very troubled. In fact, Takehara didn't feel that he was at ease at all when he played against Seedoo. All the time, he was on guard with anxiety, and Seedoo's lineup suddenly came to him. Just fight. With a determined heart, Takehara began to make signs to Miyano. The first ball is a breaking ball to the inner corner. In the face of Yuki Tetsuya, it is very dangerous to pitch to the inside corners. Nevertheless, there is no other way. If they don't take risks, it will be difficult for Hakuryu to suppress Seedoo's lineup. Even if they are 2 points ahead now, it is not easy for Hakuryu to win if they do not take risks. Knowing this, Takehara, or rather Hakuryu, can only choose to fight. In front of the enemy, of course, they can't back down. If they back down at a time like this, the momentum gathered by the Hakuryu High School may dissipate. Whoosh! The small white ball, almost touching Tetsuya's clothes, entered Takehara's mitt. Snap! Ball! Such a ball deviated a lot from the strike zone and can only be considered a ball. In the face of the ball that is likely to hit him, Tetsuya did not retreat a single step. Really courageous. Although this situation gave Takehara a headache, he couldn't help but admire it. You must know that the third baseman was injured before, although it cannot be counted as the responsibility of Yuki, but the players of the Hakuryu High School have grievances against him. In this game, the injury of the third baseman had nothing to do with Tetsuya, but did not prevent the Hakuryu High School from putting all their grievances on him. With a bad personality, it is not impossible to take personal revenge and throw the ball against him. At least there is such a possibility. But in the face of the inner corner pitch that flew close to his body, Tetsuya did not move at all. How can Takehara not admire this courage? Of course, it's also a headache. If such an inner corner pitch does not make him retreat, it is still difficult to use an outer corner pitch to decide the outcome with him. We can only continue to aggressively attack. Although an aggressive attack depends a lot on luck, the opponent is Yuki Tetsuya, and no one dares to say that they can solve him 100% without being lucky. Whoosh! The ball is a slider to the edge of the inside corner. On the strike zone, the previously motionless Tetsuya suddenly moved, facing the ball and swinging the bat decisively. Ping! The white ball was hit and flew far away. The left fielder of Hakuryu High School didn't have time to react, and the ball bounced off the ground. It was a good hit, and after passing the left fielder, it was a smoothly long hit. Tetsuya went to the first base, ready to run for second base. Isashiki Jun, who had been prepared for a long time, cooperated with him tacitly, and even crossed the second base and went to the third base. Stop! Just when Tetsuya was preparing to go to the second base, he received a signal from the first base running instructor. The ball passed over the left fielder, but it was stopped by Mima, who suddenly came out from who knows where. The guy somehow got behind the left fielder and became a backup. Now it is dangerous to move forward. It will just increase the number of outs. Isashiki went to third base, but was also stopped by the third base instructor, signaling him not to continue running. The two stopped wisely, which made Mima very annoyed. You really have no guts. You guys should keep running. Doesn't Seedou like to attack aggressively? No out. Runners at first and third base. Fifth batter, pitcher Sawamura. Seedou's rest area. The players looked envious and jealous. Damn, it's this kid again. His luck is too good. Why is it you every time? Do it. Sawamura. Hit it out. Kuramochi looked around in surprise, including the substitute seniors and several main players cheering for Sawamura. When did the popularity of this stinky boy become so good? The moment he turned his head, his eyes met Superintendent Kataoka's sunglasses unintentionally. Kuramochi shivered subconsciously. Why did I feel like the coach was glaring at me? I didn't do anything wrong, did I? Sawamura, Sawamura. Dong dong, dong dong dong. The Demon King, the great Demon King, hit it out, hit it out. Not only the dugout, but also the stands are cheering in full swing. Yeah, it's terrifying. With the ranks of the second string and the third string, Kanemaru pouted. Although he and Sawamura are good friends now, he can't help but be jealous seeing Sawamura's exclusive fan club. We are all first-year freshmen, right? Right? As expected of Eijun Koen, he is now the ace and a pillar of Seedou, which is completely different from us. Kaminato Haruchi looked at Sawamura with his eyes twinkling. One day, I will ascend to the first string too, and put on the uniform of Seedou and stand and fight. With such a thrilling and dangerous atmosphere, Miyano and Takehara couldn't ignore Sawamura. For the sake of winning, let's go. Yes. The two of them wanted to deal with Sawamura with all their hearts. Here, Miyano prepares to throw the ball. However, they did not know that something was brewing. At the position of the first base on the other side, Tetsuya walked and left the first base bag. Miyano raised his foot here. Tetsuya started to run in an instant. Miyano. Kitawi was taken aback when he saw Tetsuya's action. He really didn't understand the meaning of Tetsuya's steal at this time. However, it should be too late. On the pitcher's mound, Miyano, who was fully immersed in the duel with Sawamura, did not hear Kitawi's voice at all. 116. Chapter 116. The Sunglasses Conspiracy. Whoosh. The white ball, like laser light, flew above the home plate. On the strike zone, the bat in Sawamura's hand was raised high, as if he was about to swing at any time. But while waiting for the ball to enter the batter's hand, Sawamura didn't swing. Alarms started ringing in Takehara's mind. This ball was in the strike zone, and Sawamura did not swing. They could win a strike first. With a strike in hand, they were much more at ease with Sawamura afterward. But why didn't Sawamura swing the bat? The moment he raised his head, Takehara saw a very incredible scene. Yuki Tetsuya, who had been calmly staying at the first base before, quietly started running to get close to the second base. Because he was dealing with Sawamura wholeheartedly, he didn't even notice this. Not only he, but Miyano was also wholeheartedly dealing with Sawamura, and he never thought that Yuki would steal the base. There had been a similar situation before. At that time, Seto High School chose without hesitation to let Sawamura come to face the battery. From Takehara's memory, the coach of Seto High School believed Sawamura's attack very much. Ordinarily, he has no reason to let Yuki Tetsuya start stealing bases at a time like this. Tetsuya stealing a base is inherently risky. Putting this aside, the most important point is that even if the stolen base is successful, the situation is not necessarily favorable for Seedou. If the batter is Sawamura, the situation on the field has become no out and runners at second and third base. Then, the Hakuryu High School may walk Sawamura and work with full bases. Compared with no out, runners on the first and third bases, this kind of scary situation. When the bases are full, it may be easier for the Hakuryu High School to defend. Most importantly, they also avoided a head-to-head confrontation with Sawamura. No matter how much you underestimate Sawamura's first-year career, given his previous hit rate, It is a very risky thing to confront him head-on. It is precisely because of this consideration that Miyano and Takehara never really thought about Tetsuya stealing a base. Nevertheless, the result was a stolen base, and when they were completely unprepared, Seto stole the base. After receiving the ball, the catcher was ready to pass second base, but at this time Tetsuya has stepped on the base with one foot. Safe. No out. Runner at second and third base. At this point, Sawamura only had to get a decent hit. Then Seto High School will get 2 points, allowing them to tie the score. The sudden change completely disrupted Miyano and Takehara's original plan. As they looked at each other, an idea arose in their minds at the same time. Should we walk Sawamura now? No need. In the dugout of Hakuryu High School, Coach Sasaki sent tough instructions. What if Sawamura was walked? After Seto, there's the powerful batter Masuko Toru. With runners on the base, the unparalleled star player Miyuki Kinzuya and Shiratsu, who have very comprehensive and stable batting skills. Can you guarantee that these 3 batters will be eliminated? If you really have that self-confidence, then it won't matter if you get rid of Sawamura. We had no way out from the beginning, and we had to fight Seto High School to the end. In this case, why give them an advantage? Takehara and Miyano nodded. They quickly understood the plan of their own coach, so let's face off head-to-head. In fact, at a time like this, the head-to-head battle is very advantageous to them because the first base is empty and they can throw as much as possible to the corners. In any case, the worst was just as they had expected before, and Sawamura went to the base. At the same time, Kataoka's instructions came from the dugout of Seto High School. His sunglasses were shining with a malicious light. On the strike zone, Sawamura nodded solemnly. The bat in his hand was gripped short, and he was in a stance of bunting. Seeing this stance, the Brotherhood of the Red Heart and the members of the Demon King's Guard immediately became excited. Sawamura's 100% hitting stance. Hit it out. You can do it. Suddenly, there was a tsunami of cheers and cheers from the stands. In the dugout of Hakuryu, Sasaki's face darkened. Before the finals, they had carefully studied Seto, especially Sawamura, who has just joined Seto and has become an absolute main force of Seto High School. He has studied him more carefully. Sawamura's 100% hitting stance was not the first time they had seen it. Moreover, this thing is not as Sawamura's pitching form, where you can't understand it unless you stand in the strike zone. Sawamura's batting can be seen clearly in the video of the game. It finally came out. Sasaki looked at Sawamura gloomily. Of course, we are not unprepared. As an appreciation, we have prepared a super gift for you. On the mound, Miyano pitched. His pitching path is above the center strike zone. Sawamura wants to slash bunt, and he also has a very significant feature. That is, as long as the ball does not deviate too much from the strike zone, he can swing and hit the ball. It seems inevitable. You're not afraid of inside corners or outside corners, but I wonder if you can swing above the strike zone. Sasaki stared at Sawamura coldly. Then he saw a very incredible scene. Sawamura on the strike zone did not retract the bat. Ping! He didn't change his stance at all and hit the ball out with just that bunt. The ball above the center, for bunts, is a gift to the door. Sawamura accurately stopped the ball between the first baseman and the pitcher, letting it roll forward unhurriedly. Fabulous bunt. An exquisite bunt that you can't help but slap the table at. The place, strength, and roll are all perfect. The third base, Isashiki Jun, was well prepared. Return to home plate with this exquisite bunt. The total score is 4-3. Tetsuya also went at third base, and Sawamura was blocked and out. Seto High School showed a very beautiful coordination attack. It's just that the audience's feelings are very complicated. They were looking forward to a wonderful pitching showdown. Why did it suddenly become such a painless and ordinary attack? The uncomfortable feeling made the audience forget to applaud for a while. At this time, in the dugout of the Hakuryu High School, Coach Sasaki's face turned pale. Suddenly, he understood the meaning of Tetsuya's base steal before. 1 out, runner at third base. Exactly the same score, Masuko used a bunt and walked Tetsuya back to home plate. The total score is 4-4 tied.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.